Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. Been about a month since we did a stream, so happy to be back and joined by these three awesome people. Feel free to introduce yourselves, starting with Jason,
I'm Jason from Accelerated Creative.
Ken,
And it is Ken.
and Zach.
What's up, guys? I'm Zach from Rise Up Productions.
So we have some exciting things to talk about this stream. As you guys know, lots going on in the amusement industry as more parks are starting to open up. We, of course, have lots of construction going on across the board. So as usual, we have our kind of pre-prepared topics of discussion. And after those, we will get into the Q&A. As usual, super chats get priority in the messaging order. So feel free if you would like to send one of those. And while we get started, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Unload Station Discord server. You can find a invite in the chat right now if you haven't already joined. We have a Planet Coaster / No Limits competition that is ending very soon, actually, for submission. So if you haven't submitted yet, be sure to do so. And both myself, Jason, and Zach are all moderators or admins in the server. It's a really good time, so feel free to join it. But first, let's start off with Great Adventure. There's a lot going on at Great Adventure. Of course, the park has opened for the season since the last stream. We have lots of construction going on with Project Purple, Shoreline Pier, all kinds of stuff. But before we really get into any of that, I want to ask each one of you guys, how have your times been at the park so far? You've all visited, I believe, at least once so far for the season. Let's start with Zach. How's your time at the park been so far?
So I've actually really enjoyed my time at the park. I've actually gone every single weekend since the park opened, believe it or not. Was not planning on doing that. Particularly my last visit was probably the best besides going on the Project Purple tour. But, you know, the park looks really good, which is nice. There's lots of, new planters and foliage around. I've always thought Great Adventure was a good looking park besides like the concrete and stuff, but they're fixing a lot of that, which is really good. The boardwalk so far looks incredible. I also really like the addition of like the little like theming on the fence around Project Purple, and they're actually drilling out holes and like the like little like view things so like kids can actually look. I thought that was so cute. But besides that, the food's good. Operators, it's a little slow right now as it usually is during the beginning of the season. However, with that being said, hopefully things will speed up there. But I did see a video of Nitro rolling all three trains today, so that's good.
Ooh.
Ken, how's your time been at Great Adventure for the year so far?
It's actually very nice to see that the park is alive again. I mean, for a while we were all worried, and it seems like a lot of people are coming to that park now. A lot of people are enjoying their time. The upgrades they made this year are wonderful. The food, I actually bought a food plan.
That's a miracle right there.
Believe it or not. And I tried the fish and chips, probably a one-time thing, but it was the fish and chips was like huge.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're hitting on all cylinders, and things are just going to keep getting better.
For sure. And Jason, before I ask you for your opinion, I do have to jump in for a second. We did get a super chat. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. For me, the two best decisions I've ever made being an enthusiast are riding King Dakar in 2024 after failing in 2023 and visiting Six Flags America in June of 2025 before the closure. Kind of a precursor there because we'll be talking about Six Flags America in just a moment. But thanks for the super chat. And yeah, you definitely caught two very important things right before their demise. But back to Great Adventure. Jason, how have your visits to the park been so far?
They've been pretty good, actually, overall. A lot of changes. Great to see Best of the West retaining that name and that classic feel. It feels like Great Adventure is hitting a new era, and the park, as people have been saying, is back because it's been pretty crowded these last few weekends, and it's good to see the park lively again.
Yeah, I agree. After quite honestly struggling through the 2025 season, I don't know if it really showed in my kind of enthusiasm or lack thereof in the videos from last year, but it was not a very fun year at the park, to be completely honest. We just had so much despair happen after the 2024 season. And, they were trying to do what they could. They had Flash and everything, but we were really lacking that kind of forward momentum. And I think 2026 with even just Project Purple would have brought that. But not only do we have that, we have all of the Shoreline Pier attractions, plus the new food, the new entertainment, and so much more going on inside the park. I've been going to the park since I was 2 years old, and I have not been this excited about the future of the park ever. I mean, I really do think we're on a very positive trajectory, even with all the nonsense going on at corporate, with all the shuffling and financials. I do think Great Adventure is probably in the best position out of all the parks in the chain. And we have a great leadership team between PR, operations, management. I mean, they really are at the top of the industry, and I can't wait to see what they keep doing with the park. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
it's
yes,
they're making great changes at the park.
I would shout them all out, but there's so many people. I really do want to give a big thanks to Ryan Eldridge, who's the PR manager, Mike Fennell, who's the park manager, Chris Allen, director of ops, and so many other people at the park. Chef Jeremy Hacker for the great food. You guys will see in tomorrow's video from over the weekend. Best of the West opened over the weekend, like Jason mentioned, and the food is so, so good. They actually got me to try something I normally would not try because it looked that good. So that should tell you something about the quality of the food. Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
Yes. So Ken, it's a good thing you bought the meal plan, because all the best things are on the meal plan at Best of the West too. Everything is on the meal plan. But let's talk a little more about the construction progress on Project Purple and Shoreline Pier. If you guys have been following, I've been trying to keep up on it as much as possible. Lots of really exciting stuff. The tower is beginning construction for Project Purple. Of course, this is speculation. We don't officially know what it's going to be, but you can kind of tell based on the footer layout what it's going to be. We have the FAA waivers that were for 375 feet. So we can assume that it's more than likely going to be the height of the tower. And we're going to see that really big 400+ foot crane arrive sooner than later to start continue constructing that tower. And I'm sure Shoreline Pier's attractions are probably going vertical any day now at this point, because Barrels of Fun has tons of track and support sitting right on site, plus all the other attractions having their stuff kind of spread throughout the lot. There's a lot of concrete that's been poured, so I do think we're going to see vertical construction start very soon over there. But I did get a super chat. They opened that. Thank you, Checkmate Gal 93, for the super chat. So I guess what we thought was an airtime moment is just a part of the outer bank at the top of the tower. Well, I guess it's up to interpretation what you may or may not have thought whatever track piece you're talking about is. But just speaking on the facts, we do know that there is a bumper piece that is the final piece at the top of the ride, and that is outer banking like this. And there's a number of pieces that are shaped like that. So, kind of just putting the pieces together, that's probably what it's going to be at the top, which is very exciting. But yeah, all kinds of stuff happening with Project Purple and Shoreline Pier. Really, really exciting. And there's a ton of stuff going on in Six Flags in general, one of which is Enchanted Parks. So this is something that I think is going to cause some issues going forward, because it seems like there's been a lot of uncertainty. I actually just read a report that somebody was at Great Adventure yesterday or over the weekend and has a Great Escape Gold Pass that was supposed to be upgraded to Prestige because of the regional thing they did. And she wound up having lots of issues getting in, had to go to guest services. They tried to prompt her to buy a new pass, even though she had it. It was bought at Great Escape, but because everything switched over now, there's a new system, new passes. It's kind of a mess. As far as I know, if you have a gold pass with the All Park Passport or a Prestige Pass or Legacy membership, you're supposed to get access to all the now Enchanted Parks, which is Great Escape, Valley Fair, Worlds of Fun, et cetera, et cetera. But it sounds like the systems have been very glitchy on that end. So if you did buy a pass from any of those parks, just be prepared for issues. And if you're someone who didn't buy a pass from those parks, but you have passes from the other parks and you're trying to go there, also be prepared for issues. Because as of right now, and any of you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know if our benefits are going to work at those parks this year.
I don't think they're going to.
Confirmed.
I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to, but I would be shocked.
We'll probably get admission. That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we just get admission. But we do have another super chat. Let me jump to that really quick. Thank you, JDW Productions, for the super chat. Best of the West is good. Chicken was decent. Also, they started demolition on Road Race. Yes, they did. And I had the sirloin steak sandwich, which you guys will see in tomorrow's video. Phenomenal. Genuinely so good. And Jason had the same thing as well. But back over to Enchanted Parks. Yeah, I'm really curious how this is all going to go down. Obviously, come next year, no one will have access to those parks with Six Flags passes, but this year is going to be tricky.
And honestly, the price of their season all park pass isn't that much. So
it really isn't. No, I think you can get all the parks for what, like $60, $70, if that.
Yeah. So if you have an issue, just buy the pass.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. I don't know if they have dining plan offerings. I didn't look that far into it. I don't think they do.
It looks like it's one meal per season.
One
So
meal per season.
That's
yes,
included as a free on the
yeah.
pass. They haven't unveiled if they're going to
Oh,
have a meal planner out yet.
interesting. Okay.
Like a benefit, like you get
I
one
think that's
free
the same
meal.
thing they had at Diggerland. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, just keep that in mind. So Great Escape, Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, Six Flags St. Louis. Which ones am I missing? Michigan's
Diggerland.
Adventure. Well, that's not six. That wasn't Six Flags. But any of the ones that were Six Flags, now Enchanted Parks, just be prepared for issues there. I'll keep you guys posted if I hear anything about what the status is of our benefits. But as of right now, like I know employees of those parks, they are no longer employed by Six Flags Entertainment Corporation. They are now employed by Enchanted Parks. So contracts are signed and everything. So Six Flags no longer operates or owns those parks, which is crazy. But sticking with the Six Flags theme, another big thing that happened, and I did cover this in a video, but I wanted to go a little more in depth, was the sale of Six Flags America's Land. So if you missed it, well, before I get into it, another super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Hey, Colin and Ken, with Shoreline Pier, when was the last time there was a retheme of an area of the park? Maybe Old Country when it became Metropolis in 2017. Technically Pine Barrens with the addition of Jersey Devil. I don't know if I'd really call it much of a themed area because there really isn't much theming, but technically that was a new area. But yeah, otherwise, Shoreline Pier, it's the first time in a while. We got another super chat. Thank you. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Thank you, JPJH8844 for the super chat. Don't love the new ride, but also don't hate it. Ka had horrible throughput when it wasn't down for maintenance. Don't hate, but don't love. And to everyone who's kind of a detractor or maybe isn't sold on Project Purple, I say just give it a chance. Let it be built. Let it test. I can tell you that this ride will do things that have never been done on a coaster before. It will be a completely unique experience. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, but you won't know until you try it. So just give it a chance. That's what I say. But back to Six Flags America. If you guys missed it, Kevin Durant, or at least a group associated with Kevin Durant, purchased the park from Six Flags. And from what I'm understanding, this was based off one of the higher ups in Prince George County. They said that there will be some aspect of amusements left on the property. Correct me if I'm wrong. It won't be fully erased. So I'm taking that as maybe they'll keep a piece of Six Flags America operational. Something I could see happening is maybe keeping the water park open and then maybe like Wild One and a few of the rides up front, or honestly, even just keeping everything from Wild One to the front entrance there and getting rid of the backside of the park where Joker's Jank, Superman, all that is. But it sounds like maybe there's a chance rides can stay. Otherwise, though, it is going to be a fully redeveloped area. Sounds like they're going for like a big kind of entertainment complex. I'm almost thinking something like Adventure Crossing down by Great Adventure, just maybe with, a more of a basketball spin on it since Kevin Durant's involved. I'm not too sure. But do you guys have any thoughts on this? Because this is an interesting development to me. So many thoughts.
I would like to hope that that there are a lot of theme park elements kept. I didn't really read up on any of it, to be honest. I just saw what everyone was talking about, how they sold the land to Kevin Durant. However, I'm gonna say that the water park, if they said they're gonna keep some parts of it, I could imagine the water park's gonna be still there. That's like the easiest thing to run, because I don't know why, but water parks are everywhere. Theme parks are not. So with that being said, maybe we'll see some of the coasters, kept around. However, I have a feeling that probably won't happen because, to be honest, the one coaster they probably should have kept there for that new property was Barrels of Fun or Raging Cajun,
Right.
because that's like that makes sense to be attached to a water park. However, at the same time, I also have heard a lot of rumors that there is still Six Flags would actually like to save Wild One still and send it to another park. I'm not sure how true that is. I've heard it from only like one or two people, but if that's true, I can't imagine that the amusement park side would really much stay besides the water park.
That's fair. Ken, Jason, any thoughts?
Ken, you want to guess?
I really didn't look into it, so I
Yeah.
can't.
I don't know much either. All I know is pretty much what everyone else said, that they were sold, and really it's a matter of what the county and their team wants to decide on what the property is going to be. So we really have no say. So who knows?
What it sounds to me though is that the people on the county level, they don't want this rezoned as something too different from what it was. They still want there to be a level of entertainment and amusements to the property. And to me, keeping pieces of Six Flags America is probably the easiest way to satisfy that need. What this does mean, though, the sale of Six Flags America officially, is that there's kind of a clock, a countdown on Six Flags now, where if they want to take rides out of Six Flags America beyond what they've done for Great Adventure, they got to get moving because, eventually they're not going to have access to take whatever they want off the property anymore. Taking a look at, the rides that are there, obviously Great Adventure is getting 4 of them. I think some that are very obvious relocation candidates to me. Starflyer, that's an easy one for sure, at least in my opinion. I would love to see it at Dorney. Dorney doesn't really have anything like that. Could be tricky with the height restrictions down there, but I'm sure they could find a way to make it work. And I'd love to see Dorney get the Giant Discovery too, but quite frankly, Dorney does not have the space for that at all. I could see that maybe going to a park like Carowinds or something. They don't have a Giant Discovery, and that'd be a good fit there. But otherwise, in terms of coasters, like Joker's Jinx, I sadly don't see it being relocated at this point. Same with Superman.
Launch it under Project Purple.
Yeah, honestly, there's probably enough room. But like you were saying, I really do hope they find a way to save Wild One. I hope it doesn't just bite the dust because it's a genuinely great ride, really historic. I would love to see it go to Great Adventure, as crazy as that might sound. It would satisfy that old wooden coaster need that we've been lacking since Rolling Thunder closed. But either way, there's a lot they can do with those rides. Zach,
I would agree. If Wild One was at Great Adventure, I would. So that would probably be like top 5 in the park easily.
Oh, look, we have 2 Jasons.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I see. Jason was frozen.
Yeah, there's 2 Jasons. Now there's only 1. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Six Flags America. Very, very interesting, though, to see this finally getting sold, because I know some people were starting to think that maybe it wasn't going to get sold. It was going to be an Astroworld situation again. But I do know there's a super chat I have to catch up on. I apologize. I think a couple super chats, actually. Yeah, there are a couple. Sorry, guys. Looks like this is the first one. So this is in relation to Project Purple. Thank you, David G. Rush, for the super chat. Will the layout resemble the survey where the coaster goes straight up the tower, giving us a 375-foot drop, or will it look more like the ML Designs video? Well, given that we don't see it yet, I can only speculate. I'm assuming it will be more like the survey, given that that is the only official look at what we think this coaster is, right? I would imagine it'd probably be more similar to that than a No Limits creation, but no shade to ML Designs at all. They do great work over there. But I would imagine it'll probably look closer to the survey, since that was presumably made specifically to show the chain what that model could look like, assuming that it's that model. Next up, thank you, Dimitri's Adventures, for the super chat. Will the new Verbolten at Busch Gardens Williamsburg be a hit or a dud? I think it will be a big hit, judging off what I've seen. I've taken a look at bgwfans.com. They do some really great reporting, and they have some of the documents showing what Verbolten's actually getting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like they're, for one, completely redoing the tunnel into the building. So that's going to be more themed. There's going to be animatronics inside the building now. It's going to be much more dynamic and well lit, and you're actually going to see what's going on, but not in a way that detracts from the thrill. And they're repainting some of the exterior of the ride as well. So they're actually going out with this and making it really well themed. And it was always a great themed ride. It just kind of deteriorated over the years. So I think it'll be a hit. I mean, Loch Ness Monster seemed to do really well for them when they redid it. So I'm hoping this is the same, and maybe we can finally see Pantheon get some theming after this.
Yeah, it needed it, because some of those in the drop room, some of that stuff wasn't working like it was when it first opened.
Yeah. It was definitely getting a little worse for wear towards the end.
So at least they realized it and are fixing it.
Yes, I agree. Next super chat. Thank you, JPJH, for the super chat. I think the sale of Six Flags America was literally a take your stuff and go, or it's scrap. I guess you're referring to the rides that are there, which, I mean, it depends on what they do with the park, because if Six Flags leaves whatever they don't want, they can then decide what they want to do with that. I guess they probably have to work with the new buyers as well when they're taking stuff out, because I'm imagining somewhere in the contract there's some kind of clause of what they can and cannot take. But I'm really not too sure. I guess we'll see how it goes. And final super chat for now. Thank you again, Dimitri's Adventures, for the super chat. Thoughts on BGW's new survey of rides, Giga, RMC, new Pompeii remodel, new Dark Ride, etc. I find it really funny that United has been like throwing all these crazy ride surveys out for all their parks. SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and Tampa, they've all gotten like very similar surveys. Like, I think I saw this for Tampa and Williamsburg, where it was a B&M Giga. One was like, I guess, tannish and like kind of designed to look like it would fit at BGT. And they took the exact same image and just changed the colors and put it on a BGW survey. Did the same thing again for a SeaWorld Orlando survey. It's really funny. Given the state of United, I don't know how they're going to build these, but, have at it.
Dude, they're more work than me.
Literally. I would love, like, personally for me at BGW, I think they are in desperate need of an RMC like Wazi. I think that would really fill out their lineup perfectly. I thought that's what they should have used Big Bad Wolf space for. Of course, they didn't do that, but that would be great there. In Tampa, we've been calling for a B&M Giga there for years. I would love to see that. And over at SeaWorld Orlando, I remember they had a indoor-outdoor thrill coaster in the survey. That sounds really enticing, especially with some of the thematics they've been able to pull off with like Loch Ness Monster and presumably what they're doing with Revolton. I'd be really curious to see like a sea-themed kind of attraction, because even Penguin Trek in the pre-launch section, like that's really well themed through there. So SeaWorld can do good theming. I just, it matters the budget, of course, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you guys seen these surveys at all?
I've seen the BGW one with the like you said, the tan Giga coaster. I like you said, I genuinely cannot believe that they can afford it. But with that being said, if they can somehow pull it off, that'd be great actually, because but I feel like United needs to really focus on a lot of other things before they focus on building new rides. Because they are not in a great financial state right now. So I think the way they could easily do that is just by saving a little bit of money by not buying rides, and also more focus on the guest experience, causing people to want to come back and spend more money throughout the season, particularly in the operations department at Busch Gardens, Tampa, and BGW, and all of the parks, because they all are not good.
And they really need to, make sure they keep up with royalties, because that seems to bite them in the ass.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that, actually.
So here, before we even get into any of that, I need to make a very clear disclaimer from a legal standpoint. I have no part in this lawsuit. I'm not making any comments suggesting one party is correct over the other, just to cover myself legally there. But I do think it's kind of interesting looking into the documents and seeing like what Sesame Workshop is accusing United of. One of the things I saw is that they accuse them of taking their San Diego Sesame Place park, turning it seasonal to try and drive more visitors to SeaWorld as opposed to Sesame, which is an interesting kind of claim, because I did think that was kind of surprising when they put it to a seasonal operation. And just, saying that they weren't doing proper approvals, weren't paying royalties as alleged in the lawsuit, definitely telling of the current state of United if true. And like you guys were saying, I think they definitely need to focus on the guest experience more than anything. Back in the day, and this is not like a knock at any one park level, the People Park level, they're doing their best with the cards they're being dealt. They do a great job with what they can do. But, BGW back in the day, like that was like gold standard of regional theme parks to me. That was right up there with Dollywood as like how you do a regional theme park. And it really does pain me to see the decline over the years. And I know not everyone maybe recognizes it, but like I would take Busch Gardens, Williamsburg from back in like 2014 when they were firing on all cylinders, as opposed to where they're at now, where the food is worse than Six Flags food and the events just kind of feel like, whatever. And sure, they have great new rides, but the maintenance going back to other attractions, it's just not there. And the guest experience just feels much more deteriorated from where it used to be. And, I know these parks can be great. That's what sucks.
I was going to say, I feel like United's in their like mid 2010 Six Flags era right now.
Yes, it very much.
Okay, let's just spam rides everywhere, and we'll worry about we'll get that in, and then we'll worry about the guests when they actually get there.
Right.
or if they get there, I should say.
I do think like it's a tough balance. Like, if I were in the position of United, I don't really know how I would be doing it differently, because like the SeaWorld parks, for instance, they had to make a major pivot in the mid 2010s after Blackfish and really redefine who they were. And I do think that the rapid investment was needed to really give them something besides just the animal shows, because that's all there was to do. Now they're building out their coaster collections more. They're getting more flat rides like that. It's definitely needed, but not at the detriment of literally everything else. That's kind of where I feel like they faltered, in my opinion, in addition to everything else. But not to keep going on a United Parks rant. I do love the parks. Believe me, I have a great time every time I go. It's just, I know they could be that much better. And, it pains me to see that that's not seeming to be the case. So hopefully we can see it pivoted, and these new surveys are not just going to go to nothing and wind up being blue sky ideas. But moving on, another super chat. Thank you, F7, for the super chat. They could keep Superman like Desperado in Vegas and just have it sit there and do nothing. Because Desperado hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, Desperado hasn't ran in God knows how long.
I guess, it is the tallest ride of Six Flags America, right?
So here's my problem with that. I like the idea, and like, if I'm all for it, but if that's the only ride they keep there, what are they gonna put in the middle between the water park if they keep it around? Or granted, we might see a complete knocking down of all the stuff in the middle of the park, and maybe that'll be like the entertainment complex. I also still believe that they might want to do some sort of other thing besides like sports complexes, because granted, Kevin Durant's buying it, there's going to be sports involved. However, with that being said, I genuinely don't see how the property could be successful without some sort of thing besides, oh yeah, here's some baseball fields and here's some restaurants. Because look at Adventure Crossing. Adventure Crossing is basically bankrupt. And I've literally never seen a single person on that property besides for the food and stuff like that.
And the Little League as well. They use the baseball fields.
I've never seen them use that before. That's crazy.
I haven't seen it, but I've been told, so I go with it.
I've seen it before. They do use it on occasion.
The thing with Adventure Crossing too is that it's kind of in, like, Great Adventure, as we know, at least for Jersey locals, it's in the middle of nowhere. You have to drive to get there. Whereas Six Flags America, it's really not that far from resident. Yes, it's in a heavily wooded area, but it's not as desolate as Great Adventure is.
I was gonna say there's a housing development right across the street, as well as I was gonna say there's bus lines that go to it, and also not to mention, I believe the Silver Line from DC is fairly close too, and there was actually talks of extensions, like running and having a station for that area, but obviously that's never going to happen now.
Right. Yeah.
unless the entertainment complex as well.
Didn't they already send the trains from Superman to other parks?
So the only ones I have confirmation on are Scream Wars trains going to Wonderland. I've heard rumors that the trains from Joker's Jinx went to the Flight of Fear coasters. I've heard rumors that Superman's trains went up to Darien Lake or elsewhere. I don't know for sure, but what I do know is that if there's no trains for those attractions, they're not reopening there. And if they're relocating them, they're going to have to buy new trains, which are millions of dollars. So
I could have sworn I saw something about how one of the trains, like an actual picture, I think it was the blue train, got sent to Darien Lake.
I wonder how that works too, since Six Flags doesn't own Darien Lake and they only operate it. Who owns Darien Lake? Is it still EPR? So would EPR then buy the train from Six Flags?
I honestly don't know why they would even send it to Darien Lake.
Right.
Because Darien Lake just bought a second EPR purchased a second train last year. That's supposed to go into service this year from Intamin. Brand new. So why do they need 4 trains?
Wait, and they're going to run one.
No, I was going to say they only sent one, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so then why do they need 3? They already have 2. They're barely ever going to run more than one. That's why it's like a weird.
Well, that way
did they buy 2 new trains, or did they just get a new train?
They bought a brand new train, and their current train that they had was only like 10 years old. It was practically brand new.
Never mind. Okay, maybe we're just all stupid, and the rumors of it going to Darien Lake make no sense, and it's just doozy.
Speaking of Darien Lake, is it going to be all Titan track on? Oh, I forget the name of the ride.
Oh, Predator.
Predator
Is it
mostly.
all-
They are
yeah.
doing more Titan track on it. They're doing more Titan track on that. They're putting Titan track on Prowler, Worlds of Fun, which I'm not too happy about. And Gravity
No,
Group
Sean
just
Austin.
did another major retrack to Beast at Kings Island on the Helix, or the second drop.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
How about Boulder Dash?
Boulder Dash. Did
Boulder
it get
Dash is
more?
unfortunately getting more Titan track.
Yeah.
Ugh.
As
And we
much
also
listen,
know-
as much as the ride is so much better than it used to be in terms of just how fast it runs now, I still wish it was all wood because it literally feels like parts of it literally feel like a steel coaster, and it completely kind of ruins the whole feel of the ride.
We also know that Great White down at Maury's is getting a lot of RMC 208 retrack, and that is going in actively. I believe King Decad 2005 on Instagram has been posting pictures, and they are actively installing it. It looks like in valleys too. So at least it's in the valleys where it gets maybe a little shaky. I never thought the ride was rough, but I do find it really interesting that it's now an amalgamation of CCI design and track, plus now RMC track and Millennium Flyer GCI trains. Like,
As
who would've
well
thought
as
that?
GCI also did track work on it like quite a few years
Yes.
ago too.
Did they
Um,
reprofile it slightly as well?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Also, I am seeing somebody's. It's not a super chat, but somebody just said that Titan track on Shivering Timbers would be nice. It's already getting 208.
It is. It is getting 208.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting to see the split between the parks getting 208 and Titan track when they're in the same chain too. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
I wonder who's
Okay,
making
so
those
here's
decisions.
here's my thing
really
too,
weird.
where I know why they did it, but like for example, Wildcat Lake Compounds got the pre-cut track
Mhm.
and
Right.
completely reprofiled, while Boulder Dash is getting the Titan track and it's not getting reprofiled. It's literally they're literally just slapping the Titan track in replace of the old rails. So what I don't understand is why didn't they just go with Gravity Group for both projects to, save some money maybe, but also at the same time keep both the rides wood and also make the ride smoother and hold up longer. But also at the same time, Boulder Dash is one of the most intense woodies out there, and I can imagine that track just gets absolutely destroyed every year, and even the pre-cut track maybe might not be able to handle that, or at the time Palace didn't want to pay for that in the future, so they just went with the Titan track. But hopefully we'll see the Titan track just not be a good product and they'll get rid of it.
Boulder
that'd
Dash
be-
will have 2 good years, then 2 bad years. 2 good years, then 2
Exactly, yeah.
Well, it's the same way with the Six Flags chain too, if you realize, because before they sold Worlds of Fun, they already had decided on redoing Timberwolf with pre-cut, and then they're doing Prowler with the freaking what is it, the Titan track?
Yeah.
So like,
Yep.
what are we doing here? It's so willy-nilly. It's just whatever company, I guess, comes up with the cheapest
At
proposal
least-
on each ride.
That's true. That's actually probably exactly what it is.
Probably is
However,
what it is.
at least Prowler's a GCI. So that makes
Yes.
sense. They're putting a
Right.
GCI product on a GCI. But I don't know what's going on with the rest of this stuff. But Jason's probably right. It's probably just whoever gets the cheapest bid, or because that's what a lot of companies go with. I know, for example, this is a really crazy comparison, but like for example, when cities will put bids out for new public transit vehicles and stuff like that, they'll usually just go with whatever the cheapest is, because there's apparently a law that is actually a thing where they have to go with the cheapest unless that
Mhm.
product is not good. Hence why Boston had a little bit of a debacle with their Chinese made subway cars for a little bit, but apparently they're performing well now, so that's good.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move on to the next super chat because we have a couple more before we get into the main discussion. Thank you all for the super chat. This is a lot. Try to get through them all. Thank you, Checkmate Gal 93 for the super chat. Do you think Cedar Fair will allow Intamin to build a new coaster in Cosplot in a few years? Oh man.
This is a loaded question.
Yeah, this is a loaded question. There's a lot to unpack here. First, I think it really starts with looking at who's in charge of Six Flags right now. They're undergoing a lot of changes at the upper level. Of course, we just saw the sale of the parks that went to EPR. I imagine we're going to see more. In fact, I would almost guarantee we're going to see more park sales sooner than later. On top of the fact that John Riley stepped into the CEO role not too long ago. There's a new executive chairman of the board. I forget their name, but they replaced Salim. So Salim and Zimmerman are both gone. Both leaders of the previous iterations of the company, both gone. I can tell you that a lot of the other corporate leadership, though, has not changed. Tim Fisher is still the COO. Brian Witherow is still the CFO, and many other down the line. So until everyone from Legacy Cedar is gone, I still think there will be bad blood with Intamin. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping they can finally move past this and let Intamin come in. And that's not to dig on any other manufacturers. I love Mach Rides. I love Vekoma, but like Intamin's Intamin. I mean, I can't tell you I don't want an Intamin. Great Adventure, in my opinion, more than anything else right now, needs a good Intamin multi-launch Blitz coaster. That's what we really need, in addition to a good family coaster. But like, do I think it's going to happen in a few years? I think that over the next few years, Great Adventure is going to probably get almost nonstop investment. I mean, they're probably already getting ready to plan for 2028 and whatever they're going to do with that, because they know Great Adventure is a high priority property. They need to invest in it in order to unlock that full potential that it had many years ago. I mean, in the 90s, it was pulling well over 4 million a year. It was crazy, the attendance back then. And then come late 2000s into the 2010s, it kind of lulled out, started to climb back up, but then COVID happened, and COVID just wrecked the attendance of the park. And, at the end of the day, New Jersey is the most densely populated state. We're not too far from Philly, not too far from New York. It is the biggest market in the United States, and it's been ignored for so long. So if they really do think that, they're going to go all the way with Great Adventure and unlock the potential, let Intamin come in, build some absolute masterpiece, throw in a couple records for your marketability, and you will have not only a coaster that will bring people in, but a coaster that will keep people long term and really be a crowd pleaser and a good addition for the park. That's my stance.
So here's what I'm going to say. I agree with pretty much all the points that Colin made. And I also think it's going to depend on how Quantum Accelerator goes and how it's received. Because I can imagine that they would probably want to be like, okay, Quantum went well. Let's put in and it's a reliable product. People like it. Let's put a few more of those. That I was going to say, I feel like the straddle coasters are probably not very risky models to purchase into, because they're a fairly well tested product, and they literally spread like wildfire across the world. So with that being said, I also think that they probably have already considered the fact that Intamin is a completely new company, or not new company, but it's a completely different company from what it was back in the 2010s when, or even in the 2000s when Cedar Fair got burned by them several times. And with that even said, we also have there are still Legacy 6 people within the management. So with that being said, like they will have some pull at least. And I also think that with the way a lot of other manufacturers are very expensive, I feel like Intamin's products are still relatively similarly priced of how they priced them a few years ago. And then and also they are just constantly increasing in quality in terms of both the rides are better and the reliability is better. However, on the other end too, like we also have Vekoma, which is basically just like a B&M-ified Intamin in reality. And then Mach is also there, but the problem is Mach's like super mega dummy expensive. That's probably the biggest problem with Mach, is that if that would definitely be their preferred company to do everything with, but they're just so expensive. So I have a feeling we'll see a lot of smaller Intamin coasters. Maybe not a Great Adventure. However, I would love to see like a traditional Giga in that plot, but I have a feeling that we're going to see either another Mach, like more towards like Hyperion styled, not Hyperion, Hyperia styled, or something else too. And also, as far as Legacy 6 goes, I remember hearing a rumor back when the Top Thrill 2, was like not announced yet, that Intamin actually they actually went to Intamin for a bid, and Intamin proposed something that would apparently remove Iron Dragon, and Cedar Point was like, no, like we really don't want to get rid of Iron Dragon, and they said, okay, well, if you don't want this absolute masterpiece of a ride that will be your best coaster for literally the rest of its entire life, go big or go home. Sorry, guys. And that's what they said, allegedly, of course.
I can definitely say the Iron Dragon part was true. I don't know about the rest of it, but more than likely, yeah. I know they never made another proposal after they declined removing Iron Dragon. But yeah, I do agree with your points, and I think Quantum is going to be a pretty important attraction. I think the fact that it was already delayed a year because of Intamin issues probably is not a good start. We also know that Georgia Gold Rusher, at least I don't know if you guys know, it is not open for the season yet. It's undergoing downtime. It had a lot of downtime last year because they've been trying to work out some of the kinks with it. Granted, that is a prototype, and Six Flags should have known what to expect when they're buying an Intamin prototype. But I recently watched a video about Velocicoaster and how it was kind of like a really important ride for Intamin to kind of prove themselves in the North American market that they're not what they used to be. They can create these crazy balls to wall attractions, but also be more reliable. And it hasn't really taken off the way you would have expected it to in North America after seeing the success of Velocicoaster and other similar rides. So I really do hope that Six Flags does finally give them the chance, or Cedar Fair really gives them the chance to come back and make a statement coaster, whether it's a Great Adventure or Great America, wherever. But Great Adventure really needs it.
I'm just gonna ask a question to you, Colin.
Okay.
Was Quantum actually delayed due to the Intamin issues, or was it delayed due to something else? Because I remember hearing something else.
So the only information I know and can publicly share is that Quantum was supposed to open. It wound up not opening. And not long after that, all the Intamin straddle coasters in the U.S. also closed.
Well, no,
They
the Intamin
underwent
straddle
a lot
coasters, they were already
the US.
closed before that.
They were. You're right, actually.
Yeah, and
they were.
Quantum was supposed to open, and they literally had a what is it, like a media shoot announced, because I remember I signed up for it with a friend, and we were gonna go, and then 2 days before that it was canceled, and at that point the straddles were already closed for I think like quite a few weeks at that time. So that's why I had a feeling it was something else, and I also heard some other information that it was due to a different decision, and Intamin was sort of the problem, but not really.
Well, I can't speak directly to that because I don't know for sure. But judging off the fact that the other straddles also had an issue and didn't be open for some time, it was probably linked. I'm not going to put the blame all on Intamin, but I imagine it is an Intamin. We know how they go. So yeah, this is something I really do hope to see come true. Genuinely, I think that would do wonders for the park. And if anyone from the park is watching, please beg for an Intamin Blitz. We need it. Nice big one with a swing launch, a spike, and everything, please. But
really
anybody who expects Kingda Ka to be rebuilt, that's not going to happen.
No, that will never happen. No. And also something else I want to say regarding Project Purple, because everyone keeps calling it the Kingda Ka replacement. This is what I'll say. It's really not replacing anything besides Twister and the mid-course breaker of Green Lantern. If anything, it's a parking lot replacement, and it's a spiritual successor to Kingda Ka. I think that's the best way to phrase it, because it's very obvious by the layout of this ride. It's designed to look almost identical to Kingda Ka. The stall looks like the airtime hill. The tower is going to look like the tower. They're designed to look very similar to each other, but it's not the replacement. It's the spiritual successor.
I'll bet you there'll be some people that still think it's the same ride.
You know, that I wouldn't put it.
There might be
against the Great Adventure.
Yeah, maybe.
They'll be like, "Oh, Kingda Ka reopened."
Things, so I wouldn't put it past them.
Medusa, Bizarro, Medusa.
Wait, sorry. Oh, I hate to interject here, but can we talk about how Medusa now has the original colored restraints again?
Yeah, it's really funny.
And it's not just like the green, it's the little metal like that actually attaches to the train is purple. And I think that's so funny. And it was definitely a big accident, but honestly, it's a really cool accident. So
I hope they keep it like that. I like it.
Yeah, same. I mean, they're probably going to keep those restraints for as long as possible.
Right. Well, we've been on this super chat for a while. I'm going to move on to the next one. And then unless we get another super chat, we will finally get to the chat. I'm sorry for making you guys wait for so long. Thank you, Marks509, for the super chat. Colin, are you going to visit Canada's Wonderland this year? Alpine Fury is worth the trip. Flight Deck is getting a big upgrade. So Ken and I actually were up there last year for Alpine Fury's Media Day. And you're right, Alpine Fury is absolutely worth the trip. And that's another thing we forgot to talk about, which was Flight Deck getting rebranded as, what is it, the Daredeviler? Is that what they're calling it?
Daredeviler, yep.
Six Flags on name.
Yeah, it's I appreciate that they are making an effort to retheme it, because that whole area is kind of discombobulated right now with the theme. So I appreciate that they're not just throwing the new trains on randomly and not saying anything about it. I don't know if it's getting a repaint, though, because the concept art maybe suggests that, but I'm not 100% sure. And something I want to mention about this in particular that I found interesting, a lot of people were accusing the concept art of being AI. And we're kind of in an era now where everything is accused of being AI because people's ability to determine what is and isn't AI is so blurred because AI has kind of become a little too realistic, to the point where the PR person from Wonderland wound up sending out an email to all media saying that it was not AI, it was made by an illustrator. Same thing with Great Adventures conceptual art for Shoreline Pier. And I think it really just kind of goes to show that, unless we're getting like a full-blown video animation, you're probably going to get accused of using AI for almost anything, which is crazy to me, especially as a content creator. But just wanted to make a note of that because I thought it was kind of interesting.
Just so you know, it's not me today, it's AI.
Yes, this is not really Ken. It's our AI chatbot of Ken. We trained it really well. No. But with that being said, it is time to start going up to the top of the chat and reading off all the questions you guys have put in. Also, wanted to make a mention too before I begin. Project Purple merch is live on the Hollywood Studios merch store. The link is in the chat if you're interested. I should have wore it today, sorry. But that's in there as well as a poster for Project Purple as well. But let's start.
I would love if the coaster actually ended up being called Project Purple.
That would be hilarious. And it's not too different from Project 305. That's what they gave 305 for a little while before it was Pantherian. All right, we're going to start right here with Fanta Orange. I don't know if you've seen this, but Fiesta Texas is having their FT92 announcement event on May 30th at 9 p.m. It's in their events tab. Yes, I did see that. And I would almost guarantee that they are going to announce their 2027 coaster there. Jeffrey loves to do these fan events to really build up the hype. And I would be shocked if they didn't announce it then. And that ride, I'm very excited for it. They're really hyping it up. They have a really good teaser campaign going across their socials. My official guess is going to be that it's a Vekoma family launch coaster like Big Bear. You can come yell at me if I'm wrong, but that's my guess. I think that makes a lot of sense for that area and for that park.
Yeah.
Up, and we got another super chat. Let me scroll back down. Thank you, David G. Rush, for the super chat. Top Thrill 2 begrudgingly is fantastic in the front row. Still doesn't hold a candle to Cod's hydraulic launch. Wish we got a reimagining though. And it was very likely that we would have gotten a reimagining of King Ka prior to the merger. And then once the merger happened, everything just kind of got pivoted big time. And what you'll notice with Project Purple is that the footers do not touch King Ka's plot at all. And that was very purposeful. They were fully designed to be able to exist together. Like King Ka could be there right now, and it would not be in the way of Project Purple at all, just for the record, which is an interesting design choice.
I'm just going to talk about this person's opinion for a second. I think the ride as a whole is significantly better than King Ka. However, there's definitely not a single launch on Top Thrill 2 that is actually better than King Ka's launch.
So here's my take on Top Thrill 2, and I think I speak for Ken when I say this too. It felt neutered in 2025 compared to 2024. In 2024, it was crazy. I mean, it was running super fast, and the trains being the way they were, because I did modify them for 25, they were wild back then. I mean, you were getting launched out of your seat. It's still phenomenal, but I do slightly prefer Ka, call it bias, but that launch was unbeatable on Ka. That is still my favorite launch of all time out of everything I've been on. And just the raw intensity of Ka is going to be something that's really hard to match. And again, I love Top Thrill 2. I really love the top hat with the raised seating, but the launch sequence is not really my favorite anymore. I'd like the spike. I'm not really a huge spike person though, so it didn't do much for me, but it is a great ride. And I think what's really going to be interesting is to see, once Project Purple finally opens, which of the two is better, Top Thrill 2 or Project Purple? And we'll kind of get to judge if they made the right decision, if that's how you want to look at it. But let me go back.
Do you think Project Purple was an option for replacing Top Thrill at one time?
I don't know. I mean, I think that was probably after that decision would have been made that it was introduced. Like, this is a ride I could see maybe having been designed for like Kings Island or Carowinds originally, and maybe then they pivoted it. This is just speculation, but yeah, I don't know if it was really for, I mean, it probably could have fit there, but actually, no, I don't think it would have. I think
I was going to say, from what I've heard, Project Purple was purchased post-merger and was fully intended to go up either with King Ka, and then King Ka will come down later, or would be done whenever with. But Project Purple was a Cedar Fair slash, well, it was a post merger Six Flags purchase, and it was not meant for another park, and I don't believe it was also meant for Cedar Point at all.
Yeah, I don't know that it would have ever been intended for Cedar Point. But moving on. Do you think that Silver Dollar City's 2027 coaster will be the spiritual successor to Thunderation? Judging off the timing, absolutely. I could 100% see this coaster being a family coaster, which, I would love to see Silver Dollar City just go crazy and put in another wild coaster like Time Traveler or Outlaw Run. But realistically, it's a family park. That's how Hershend operates. And I don't really think Hershend has any intention of putting any crazy extreme thrill coasters in their parks in the near future, because that's not really the audience they're looking for. And, if you're going to close Thunderation, which is currently, in my opinion, their best family coaster, you're going to have to replace it with another really good family coaster. And that's probably what this is going to be.
Do we know anything about it or no?
As of now, nothing official.
Nothing
Okay,
official.
I was going to say,
but
wait, what did you say, Jason?
nothing official. But there have been mock people at that construction site. So
Oh wait, yes, I did hear about that.
so
I was gonna say Silver Dollar City is kind of the testing grounds for Hershend, it seems like, or was at one point. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a new type of coaster slash like a mock family thrill that they might want to test out at Silver Dollar City and then maybe put in other parks. However, I also am a firm believer that it might just be a really, really, really awesome Big Bear type coaster, like terrain style, which that could be incredible. I love Big Bear. Top 3 at Dollywood.
top 2 at Dollywood IMO.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. I see it.
Not gonna lie, pretty good.
We go down to those really quick. First, Farmeja, thank you for the super chat. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I'm not a coaster enthusiast and not healthy enough to ride most coasters, but I'm a great adventurer local. My larger concern is more about seeing the rest of the park updated to the Shoreline Pier standard. I think that is going to be a challenge going forward to try and get the park to kind of have a cohesive feel. Because like you said, it's going to be a pretty big difference between the new and the old. And there's definitely some areas in the park that clearly need updating. Boardwalk was one of them. So I'm hoping they go area by area across the whole park over the next 5 to 10 years and give it that nice treatment that's not necessarily so corporate that it feels like the same as every other Cedar Fair park, but has like a really nice modern touch and just looks good.
I feel like Cedar Fair is kind of going away from the ideas of like copy and paste areas, because I feel like pretty much all of their major parks have gotten some sort of new area that's pretty unique to that park. I was gonna say the new area, Kings Island. I haven't been there, but like apparently it looks really nice. Obviously Jungle X, the refresh of the boardwalk at Cedar Point, the refresh of the boardwalk at Great Adventure. I could see them hopefully doing what is it next? Frontier Adventures. But honestly, I don't think Frontier Adventures doesn't really needs it besides like the back portion, like behind Mine Train. However, if they just replace the concrete, I think that would be like probably one of the best areas in the park.
I think that Fort really needs a repaint as well, and that was talked about, I think, recently. So that would also.
I mean, Mine Train Station got repainted.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be surprised if the Fort comes next. If the Fort comes before Nitro,
That would be wild.
That would
great.
be very funny.
That'd be great.
I mean, Rolling Thunder did.
The fort should become a bar.
Yes, if they don't put a new Skyway in there,
Yes,
the Fort should become a bar.
they should keep
And
the door
open up the
open for a new
observation
Skyway. Next super chat. Thank you, Paul, for the super chat. Did Six Flags ask you to remove the footage of the current state of the Golden Kingdom in your 3/19/26 update video? That part of the video was gone. I personally took it out because I felt that it was kind of harping a little too much on like the sadness of Ka, and I wanted the video to be more looking forward at everything good coming to the park. And I figured it was probably best to focus more on the positive than the negative, since there's been so much negative publicity about Ka as it is. And I would rather just focus on the positive because there's a lot of really good things happening. Next super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Question for everyone: what was your favorite day at the park? That's a hard question to answer. I mean, that could literally be thousands of different days. I mean, King Daka's closing day, as sad as it was a genuinely great time, and like it was beautiful to see everyone come together to give the ride a proper send off since they weren't able to do it themselves at the park. So that was really fun. I've always enjoyed the riding the bull events, the thrill-a-thon events. Those have always been great. I've enjoyed my times getting to do like the really special stuff at the park, like filming and interviewing Salim the 2 times. That's always been fun. There's a lot of really good memories.
Yeah, I was gonna say the King Daka's closing day was definitely probably one of the best days as a guest I had, even though I also worked that day. For those of you who are here in the stream that don't know, I used to work at the park. I was there from 2018 to last year in ride ops. And that being said, most of my favorite days at the park have been from working there, including like hitting 36 trains at Toro in an hour, which is like pretty much the max you can do with the current well, at the time, the current programming. Now you can do like a max of like 35. And then what else is there? Probably like working the Skyway with like really good friends all day, especially when both sides are running. That was probably some of my favorite days.
Again, Jason?
I'm trying to think. I'm not gonna lie. I've been to that park so many times that like I couldn't specifically pick out my favorite day. Probably the most like monumental day for me would probably be April 1st, 2017, which is when I got over my fear of roller coasters, which is when I got a season pass for free from a friend for the park. And I was encouraged by my family that they would not bring me back the rest of the year unless I got on a ride. So I wandered around the kids area for about an hour and finally decided I'll ride Roadrunner. And then about a week later, I got on Nitro. And then that was that. Was obsessed.
Oh, the infamous days of the dead name channel.
I'll have to say my favorite day was when El Toro opened the opening year. They had a Children's Miracle Network event, and you had to buy a ticket for, I think it was $250. And they were supposed to sell hundreds of tickets, and they ended up only selling like 20 of them. So they modified the event. And we had 2 hours of ERT in the morning before the park opened on King Daka and El Toro. And I got there, I went to King Daka, did a bunch of them, then went over to El Toro, sat on El Toro for like 45 minutes, and everyone was over at El Toro. And I went back to King Daka, and I was the only one there. And I just said, just keep sending me until you can't send me anymore. And I was in the front seat, and they just kept pushing me through. I think I went 12 to 15 times in a row. And
That's awesome.
And that was with both stations.
And then they gave us a VIP wristband to go up the rest of the day, and I met my friend Peter there. So that's a very memorable day for me.
That sounds dope. I do also want to mention a lot of the Coaster Power Hours nights from back in 21 and 22.
Oh,
Those were so good. Oh, that was one of the best events the park ever had. And then also in late 24, I had a lot of days where I just did like the absolutely just most crazy marathons on King Daka. I did it 44 times in exactly 2 hours to see how long I could do it before my locker expired. I did it like, I think 108 times over the closing weekend, 64 times in one day at one point. I got my double rollback around that time as well. So many great memories.
I would say that just El Toro is much better this year for everyone who hasn't been to the park. The
significantly better.
Is so much smoother. So come try it out.
Yes.
I was gonna say, Jason, Colin, that just reminded me of a story from way back before I worked there. I think I was like 15 or 16 years old at the time. My friends and I wanted to see how it was completely dead, how many times we could ride Nitro in the day before like something happened. I think we got 56 cycles in. We were on it for like hours. And I think the reason we got off was because I finally like blacked out in the Helix or something like that, and then felt like super sick afterwards. And then we rode Congo, and we hit the first turn, and our boat was just like the entire time. And I was like, dude, why did we ride this right after I blacked out? So yeah, that was
wondering
also
what you meant by until something happened.
Oh my god, that's great. All right, I'm going to move on to the next super chat. We're getting clogged up now in the super chats. I'm going to try to go a little quicker because there's so many. Thank you, guys. F7, thank you for the super chat. They probably should have left Ka SB&O and waited to find a way to bring it back. Maybe a cheaper option would have revealed itself instead of rushing demo. Listen, we can think about the alternative options all day long, but at the end of the day, it's gone. We have to move on. We have a new one going up, and the only way we move forward is by getting over the past and looking to the future. That's the way I look at it. Do I agree?
Yeah,
probably.
I totally agree. Yeah,
you know, I do think we need to just move on. Yeah, there you go.
What I was gonna say, with that being said, I also think keeping Ka around with building Project Purple would have looked really stupid. It would have looked totally stupid having the two tallest coasters in the park that looked almost identical directly next to each other. Because then they would have just been like, oh, they just built a shorter, more lame King to Ka.
Especially with Ka if it was sitting SB&O.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got
exactly.
SB&O Ka next to three,
it would have looked odd.
If they announced an extended version of Ka and then didn't build Shoreline Pier and they made a Skull Mountain Extreme-esque coaster into the boardwalk, then yes, I think not Phantom. I don't know why am I
Phantom's Revenge?
Project Purple.
Yeah, Project Purple would have made sense and would have looked cool, but at the same time, to me, if you're gonna build a tower coaster, you don't build it next to your other tower coaster. Could have built it on the other side of the park or something, and it would have made more sense. But keeping it with Ka makes no sense. I'm a firm believer that this will be significantly better than Ka. You can change my mind until I ride it and I decide that's not.
I think it could be terrifying.
I think it's going to be absolutely horrifying, especially
if we'll blow people's minds.
Yeah, if what happens at the top is what everyone thinks it is, and if you ride in the front row and you get a really good spin, if it spins, obviously. And yeah, it's gonna be one of the best moments on any coasters in the entire world.
Yes, I agree. All right, before we spill any more info, next super chat. I'm late. Might have missed info, Colin. In a recent video, you mentioned several things that were moved to from Six Flags America to other parks. Is this being tracked comprehensively somewhere, like benches to Over Georgia? I can only say what I know. I know we have a giant pile of stuff in Great Adventures parking lot from Six Flags America. We've got 4 rides. We have the signs and theming from Harley Quinn's Spinsanity, along with probably tons of stuff for events. I'd imagine they're probably taking a lot of stuff from their Holiday in the Park event, Fright Fest, and splitting that amongst all the parks. Like you said, Georgia got some benches. As for other rides, we don't know for sure yet. We have our predictions, but nothing definite. I was mentioning that the Starflyer I could see getting moved. Same with the Discovery, probably to a park nearby, whether it's Carowinds, Dorney Park, something along those lines. But yeah, nothing necessarily tracking it comprehensively. I'm sure as things pop up in the parks, we'll all know and be able to kind of figure it out.
So I actually have some insider info here. They're actually getting rid of Metro Grill, and they're gonna put Harley Quinn, the Giant Discovery, right next to Wonder Woman, and they're gonna fight. They're gonna no, but
dueling Giant Discoveries.
I would actually think that having some sort of just funny website to track to see where all these things are going would be pretty cool. Have a Six Flags America removal database, because we really haven't seen a park closure like this in a long time, especially because the future is so questionable about the park, whether it's actually going to even exist or not. Because the last time we saw something like this was Geauga Lake, and they just purged everything out of that park. So
yeah. We'll see. It's going to be wild. That's for sure. We have a question for Ken. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Ken, when was your first time going to the park? Also, I agree the park has been great this year, and the new Main Street Pub is great. And is that actually Mike in the picture in the pub? Yes, that is actually Mike in the picture in the pub. I don't think Ken is with us currently, so I might have to come back to this one. Ken. Yeah, Ken's not here right now. We'll come back to this one. When you guys see Ken pop up, just remind me. But we'll come back to that one. Thank you, Jedi Matic, for the super chat. I feel like no one appreciated Ka when it was around, and it was treated like a one-trick pony until it was rumored to close. You're right. I mean, I'll say I feel like I always appreciated Ka. I always rode it a ton when I could. I made sure I always got over there. And if I didn't ride that, I rode Zumanjaro because they were both like two of my favorite rides in the park. Zumanjaro was my favorite ride that wasn't a coaster in the park. Probably will be for a very long time.
Yep.
And I feel like everyone, whenever we talk about Ka, everyone forgets about Zumanjaro. Like that was the world's tallest drop tower, just gone.
Dead.
You know, like.
Well, it didn't operate much in the end, so like
no, it really didn't.
About it.
It's really funny because that was the only year I ever got trained on it. I worked it once and then it closed the next day. And great. Never to be seen again. I still never got a dueling ride on it. So that's
that sucks.
Yeah. I'm very upset. And now I can't even do that with Lex Luthor because I also agree. No, here's the thing though. People started appreciating Kingda Ka when dragsters closed. That's when everyone was like, "Oh, Kingda Ka is so good." Up until then, everybody was like, "Yeah, that ride sucks. It's mid. It's just not as good top of dragster," which I completely disagree with. I was a fan of neither dragster or Ka. I thought they were good rides, but I don't think they were the stars in their park. Dragster was like a top, like below top 5 for me. And then I think Kingda Ka was like just in the top 5. I always preferred Bizarro until it turned into Medusa and they trimmed the ever loving what out of it.
Very fair.
Yeah, but I always thought Ka was a good ride and it didn't deserve all the hate it got until of course Dragster closed and everyone's like, "Oh, just kidding, we love Kingda Ka." Doozies are annoying.
I feel like after Dragster closed, there was just a broader, like, heavy appreciation for accelerator hydraulic launch coasters after that in particular. Because, like, for me, I always loved, like, Ka, Dragster. I loved them growing up, and I was always so infatuated by them. But I feel like they were kind of cast aside by most of the coaster community in favor of all the big, crazy new RMCs being built. And, they just kind of got pushed aside. But I do appreciate that, especially now with Ka gone, that there's a heavy appreciation for the hydraulic launch because it is truly one of the craziest elements on a coaster ever thought of. And it's a miracle some of them are still here.
Yeah.
And Ken, now that you're back, we have to jump back to Brian's question. He said, Ken, when was your first time going to the park?
When was my first time going to the park? I think it was the opening year. The whole family went. It was, I will have to get the home. There's probably home movies of it somewhere at my mom's house. I'll have to dig them up and get them digitized. We can stick them up somewhere.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see.
I was gonna say my mom probably also has a ton of stuff too. You can actually, if you look right behind me, there is. Go. Wait, there we go. There's a 1988 Great Adventure map framed up on my wall that my mom gave me, as well as I believe a ticket from '86, and I believe it was $7.95.
Wow,
for the ticket into the park at the time. That relates. I do remember
there were characters walking around the park that were kind of creepy, and they walked up to my sister and scared the bejesus out of her, and her ice cream went flying up in the air. She lost her ice cream, all because a character came up to say hello.
Oh my god!
I'll say something. I don't have anything on me because they're all in a box, but like my mother worked there and I think it was 81, and I have her orange employee guide with a map of the park with backstage areas the year like the River Rapids opened, with an excerpt from like the park president. And like I also found this in my garage a few weeks ago. That's from like the 80s. I had a ball and it's still inflated. So like, fun stuff.
It's really funny that they don't make an employee guide with a map of the backstage areas today. Well, I think that's really hilarious.
All right, I'm going to move to the next super chat. I feel really bad. I see everyone complaining that we haven't done many non-super chat questions. There's usually not this many super chats, so thank you guys for sending them, but I'm hoping we can get up to the other questions. Thank you, Jedi Matt C, for the super chat Oh, wait. We already read this one. I'm stupid. Thank you, David G. Rush, for the super chat. Are we optimistic about the hobby, or are we concerned about the future of the amusement park industry based on our current dystopian reality? Whoa, this is getting like very high concept.
That's deep.
This is a
Dude,
deep
what?
question.
I'm gonna direct this to somebody else.
So
I'm gonna say, just try to have fun.
Amusement parks are meant to be an escape
yeah,
from
I was.
all the craziness going on in the world.
That's what I was gonna say. With our as you quoting you, our dystopian reality. Let the amusement parks be the escape. I'm personally optimistic about the hobby, especially if I'm going with friends who I share, who want to share similar activities with. Even if I'm going with friends who I don't want to do the same thing as them, it's still fun. With that being said, I'm not optimistic about the hobby due to just a lot of people being weird in this hobby. But I feel like that's any, hobby or fan base. There's a lot of weird people. But
Yeah.
As a terms of the hobby, yeah, I'm really optimistic, especially because we're seeing a huge new, basically a brand new, two brand new companies come out of this merger, and we're gonna see some fresh competition with a lot of the three new super chains, which is Six Flags, Hershey, and EPR.
Yeah. And we really just remember, we all need to throw it all away, forget all the crazies, and we'll make the great escape to the theme parks.
That was
I
a
thought you were gonna
really
say
bad
something else.
rendition, but yeah.
Forget
Anyways,
DJ.
we are now going to the non-super chat questions. I'm going to try to go through these relatively quick because there's a lot as these two goof off. But let's get started with this one. Hi, Colin. How are you? I'm good. Do you think Firebird's trains will be relocated to another park? My pipe dream, and this is not based on anything I've been told or anything. This is just pure like opium, I guess. I'm hoping that B&M buys Firebird back, builds it up at the National Roller Coaster Museum, and it stays preserved forever as their first coaster at the museum. I think that would be sick.
This is this is a Colin fantasy.
Yes, it is.
Certified Colin fantasy.
Are you saying
I
you
know
would
you
actually run
watch.
there?
I mean,
Would actually run there?
maybe. Why not? Only limited times, of course.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, why not? People would finally stop complaining that it's all the way out in West Texas because now there's a coaster credit for them to get.
That is true.
See? Let's see. How tall will Project Purple be? Based off the factual FAA waiver that was filed, 375 feet. This is not based off any speculation or park official wording or anything. This is from the FAA. Just a question, but can there be more markings added to the Project Purple area? I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about footers, everything you see is what is going to stay. Like, they're not adding anything else to the ride. Let's see. Colin, what are your opinions on Iron Menace?
Oh no!
Oh, let's go! He's wearing the shirt. Let's go!
I am not a huge fan of Iron Menace. It's a fine ride. But I wish Dorney Park got almost anything else. Sorry.
I will agree with that. I love the theme and the presentation of the ride in the area. I just wish it was a different model. That's all I wish about the ride.
I prefer Empty Buckets. Empty Buckets is my favorite ride in that area. Besides Possessed, of course. I love Possessed. But no, I'm not personally a big fan of the B&M dive machine. It doesn't really do it for me. And Iron Menace happens to be on the lower end of the spectrum for dive coasters for me. Like Tormenta, for instance. Like, I'm excited about Tormenta. I think it has potential to be a good ride because I love Yukon Striker because it's a well-designed dive coaster layout. But like Iron Menace is also really rough, and that doesn't help. So yeah, I'm not a huge.
Here's what I'm going to say about Tormenta.
So wrong.
Yeah, I'm hoping Tormenta is smooth and good. And I know I'm just pissing Jason off so much.
This is all I have to say about Iron Menace.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
He was paid to say
I was
that.
getting paid $7,000 by Dorney Park.
Is the safari ride a separate charge? If you enter from the base camp, which is the dedicated entrance to the safari outside the park, yes, that is, you have to buy a ticket to go there or is included in the pass. But if you go to Great Adventure, you can board from the Frontier Station, and that is included with park admission. Just keep in mind, if you board from the Frontier Station, you do miss about 20 minutes of the tour. You miss a piece of the Americas, and you don't see the baboons at all. If you go from the base camp, you see the entire safari. It takes about an hour, so just keep that in mind. And base camp, the line tends to move a little faster because typically they'll have more trucks stationed there as opposed to inside the park at the Frontier Station. But it gets very crowded at the base camp on weekends. So,
I kind of think I should pick one.
see, I think it'd be fine. This is my pipe dream. Put all the trucks in terms of their capacity to the base camp, and from inside the park, you have a different way to experience a safari, whether that be from an overhead sky ride, a tram, a train, something other than the trucks to differentiate the two experiences and add
Down with
capacity.
the train. Down with the
I
train.
mean, the only tricky thing with a train is if like one of those buffaloes decide to cross in front of you. I don't know how you're stopping that thing.
Well, the one at Busch
Yeah.
Gardens. That's a train that goes by elephants, rhinos
That is true, actually.
that are free roaming.
Yeah, why
And
not?
that BGT train is really cool. It's just super slow.
Yes.
Oh, well,
okay.
that-
Here's
Yeah.
the issue with wait, I was totally phased out for a second because I was answering an important text. Are we talking about moving the SFA train to
No, we're just
No.
talking about ideas to put all of Safari's trucks outside the park, and inside the park it become an actual ride, say train or sky ride.
So that would be cool. However, I can't imagine that would happen. If anything,
no.
they would probably rather do mixed traffic between the Safari and like the Safari trucks and personal drivers.
They're probably never going to go back to personal drivers. Let's just say this is just a thing. But insurance costs premiums right now are insane, and I bet that lowered them by a few $100,000.
Oh yes, probably even $1 million.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Like,
Yeah. What if Superman being down is for a surprise retheme? It is not. Sorry, but it is not.
It
Start a burst
was
your
literally
bubble.
open already this year.
Yes.
And I have a feeling I
So-
know why it's down, and it's not even because they're doing the concrete.
So Project Purple will be a Giga coaster. If it measures 375 feet, as is suggested by the FAA document, technically, yes. Great Adventure's getting a Giga, guys. No. Finally. No.
Whoa,
Listen.
that is Squires.
We said we wanted the Giga. They gave us a Giga.
They gave
We
us a
can't
Giga.
complain. I mean, we
Of
can. We're enthusiasts.
course.
Right.
Did you go today in your Nitro? They had 3 flags in Batman's area, and Batman was closed. I did not go today. You will see in tomorrow's vlog my speculation of what those 3 flags are. I'm not overly confident in it, but we'll see.
It's probably just park infrastructure.
Or maybe it's a new fast lane kiosk.
Hasn't Batman been closed the whole season?
Batman has yet to open. It'll probably open next month. Okay. Why are you guys calling it Project Purple, even though they called it the Project Phantom Spire? Why are you guys? Okay, that's just the same message twice. They never called it Phantom Spire. They have not publicly announced a name. Phantom Spire has been trademarked, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the name. Typically, what you'll see theme park chains do is trademark a number of names to see which one they like better, or just to throw people off, and then they pick one. We saw this with Fury 325 and Centurion. It wasn't called Centurion. We saw Orion and Polaris. They didn't call it Polaris. They called it Orion, which I preferred Polaris. But besides the point, we are calling it Project Purple until we are told the name, because I'm not going to run around calling it Phantom Spire and then it's not called Phantom Spire. So
Total mayhem.
they're just
total mayhem.
Oh yeah,
man.
I love Total Man.
That
Good
would be
ride.
fun.
I actually think that name should come back.
It was
I
a better
agree.
name than Joker. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Better color scheme too.
See,
Wait,
they should've
guys, I have a
seen
better
the
idea.
comments, But
get rid of Joker.
It's so
I
true.
agree. I agree.
Or send it
Only
to
trying right
Lunar
now.
Park.
Just can we pick it up and like throw it somewhere else?
Throw it into the lake.
That's like kind of mean though. It's
Hey,
like,
Colin and Ken, but
that
not
lake is
Zach
too
and
good.
Jason. Hey, Joey.
oh wow, I see
Wow.
how it is.
Colin, were you at Great Adventure yesterday? Because I was, but I don't think I saw you. And El Toro was El Toro was rough. El Toro was not rough.
Come on.
If you think El Toro is rough now, you got to stop riding coasters. It's really not rough. And yes, I was at Great Adventure yesterday.
Colin's about to get canceled for telling him to stop riding coasters.
I mean, I'm sorry, but there's like two moments on El
it's not
Toro
wrong.
that could maybe be considered a little jarring, but like otherwise, it's not rough at all.
The only spot
significantly
that
rougher coasters.
It's the bottom of the turnaround and the bottom of the drop off the turnaround. Those are the only two spots I feel are valid to call rough. Everything else, it's not rough.
Bro hasn't ridden 2021 Roar.
Oh, oh my God.
That was bad.
Worst coaster I've ever ridden.
No. None of y'all have ridden Fuji Hellcat beside me and Colin.
Yeah, that
This
was
is true. I've never ridden Hellcat.
Most of the enthusiasts in this chat have not been on Hellcat. You don't know rough until you've ridden that ride.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear Toro's so rough. I don't even like Toro that much, and it's not because it's rough. The ride is perfectly fine this year.
Anyways, what is your favorite / most memorable theme park trip that you have gone on? I mean, call it recency bias, but my trip to the Middle East was really cool. It was my first time out of North America. I know I sound like a broken record, sorry, but it was genuinely cool to not only experience coasters in a different part of the world, but also experience a different culture that, you don't really get much exposure to over here, and getting to see how it is over there was actually really, really unique. And of course, the coasters there are crazy, and I don't know when I'll ever get back there again. Definitely not anytime soon, but it was really cool to go there. I loved my Texas trip back in 2020 because like everything was closed for COVID, and then stuff started reopening. So we went because we were planning on going anyways. We had a blast. I really liked the Teal Team 6 trip. Maybe it wasn't like the most enjoyable experience because it was very stressful, but along with other things, but it was a really unique opportunity, and I'll always be thankful for it. I've had a lot of really, really awesome trips over the years. It's kind of hard to pick one, but I do think my Middle East trip will go down in the history books for me.
And did you guys know Sammy rode Falcon's Flight?
No.
Yeah, did you guys know Sammy went to the Middle East?
Like, did you guys know Sammy rode Falcon's Flight? Like, have a great flight.
Also, Colin, are we opening this question to everybody, or is it just for you?
Yeah, go for it. This is a pretty cool one.
Okay, I was gonna say, so for me, I probably have 3 contenders here. My first contender is going to be my 2021 massive road trip. It was the biggest road trip I've ever done. It was 8 of us. We went out to, the plan was to do Cedar Point, Kings Island, Kentucky Kingdom, Beach Bend, and Hollywood Nights. However, Cedar Point decided to close on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which were the days that we were going to go to Cedar Point. And so we had to completely redo our plan. So we ended up doing Kings Island for 2 days. We did a very, very short trip to Kentucky Kingdom because they ended up closing due to an absolute insanely terrible storm. And then we ended up going to Beach Bend later because they did not close for that. Then we went to Kentucky Kingdom for a half day and the next day to finish everything. And then we also did a half night at Splash and Safari and Hollywood Nights, and then a second night of Hollywood Nights. And we almost went to Camden Park on the way home, or Lakemont, but we were really tired. Other 2 trips would probably be my trips that I took this past year with my girlfriend and one of my friends. We went to Cedar Point, which that one has a really good inside joke that we still talk about to this day. And then our Dollywood trip, which was also really good. But I think the Cedar Point trip was just a tad bit better. And we also did them like 2 weeks apart, which is really funny. So yeah, those were probably my favorite trips.
For me, it'd either have to be when I first got to a Disney park since I was like 3 years old. So my Disneyland trip. And Knott's Berry Farm, first time going past technically Pennsylvania in the US. It was really, really exciting. It just sucks I was with someone on that trip. And then probably most recent, it's recency bias, but I hated on Cedar Point for like 5 to 6 years. And it was a running gag that I would reach 300 people. Like a person told me I could never reach 300 credits without visiting Cedar Point, which is BS. But I did. And then I finally went to Cedar Point and I actually loved the park. So like that last year's trip to Cedar Point was really good. That's probably one of my favorite trips I've ever been on.
I still have a hard time believing you actually went to Cedar Point after all these years.
I know, it's weird.
No, for real. It's like
and I did it for 3 days too.
Ken, what about you?
Any trip with you and your dad.
Well, I appreciate
Good
it.
answer.
Aw, how nice.
I know
Good
they're
answer.
entertaining,
Phil's
that's for
watching.
sure.
I have a hard time answering these kind of questions because each trip is unique in its own way. I've had trips alone. I've had trips with people. I prefer going with other people. It's more fun that way. But
It's also hard to define what makes a trip and what isn't a trip because, like, is a hotel night what classifies it as a trip? Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I feel
Well,
like
then
going
that's
to not
close
your
trips.
home park.
well, then Hershey
so
Park opening
every
day.
trip is memorable in its own way. It's hard to pick which one's the most memorable.
That's fair.
I would say for Colin, I was gonna say Colin, I would define it as not going to Hershey during your great adventure.
Okay, but what about
Yeah.
New? Like, I guess because New England's not that far from me either.
Nah, it's 4 hours, so I consider it a trip.
I've done it in 2.5.
How did you not get pulled over? And can we
just
also
finished
do
it.
that?
we
I hate
won't go
that
into
drive.
detail.
It's so long.
It is a bad drive. That I will agree with. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question because we have a lot to get to.
Yes, we do.
Do you prefer Medusa as Bizarro? I prefer
Bizarro.
Medusa as
Bizarro
OG
number
Medusa.
one.
I prefer
Although I
Medusa
did love
as
like
Medusa.
Bizarro when it was like looking good still was better than current Medusa, but it never made sense in Frontier. But I did love the theming.
So I'm gonna have a comment to that as the former Bizarro supervisor of 2020. With that being said, I actually read up on the theming in the queue, and it didn't make sense in terms of like just looking at it. However, the story actually explains on how it fits into the Western area, and that it's literally Bizarro taking over Medusa. The ride was still technically Medusa, which is why I kept the Medusa Mining Company and that weird Western theming. It was just, it didn't make sense, but it did at the same time. However, also, I preferred the ride back then simply because it ran faster in the second half. And as someone who has gotten numerous trimless test rides in the morning with no, what is it? When it was like super hot out, so it was basically like running like a full train. That ride was really, really good. Like it basically was like our version of Kumba in terms of how fast that second half would run trimless. And also at the same time, it was really fun to work it too with the 3 trains and the original programming because you could get really, really high numbers. In fact, the ride did have a theoretical higher than Nitro does. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it was almost 1,800 riders in an hour. And according to 99 Medusa people that I know, or crew that I know, they actually did beat the theoretical back then because, you know, there was no such thing as safety in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
I also heard rumor that
Super.
Bizarro was actually supposed to have the trains facing backwards.
Yes,
Yes,
they were.
that's actually,
They
there's
tried.
And
literally
they tested
picture proof
it
of
and
that.
wrote it and said, "Oh, we can't do this." Because
Yeah.
if you look at the map from that year, on the map, the train, the cars are facing backwards.
That was always a thing. They did it on a lot of the other rides too, with the old old style Six Flags maps.
Because they just didn't know how the rides actually ran.
Yeah, no, but I was gonna say that there is literally pictures of a few seats on Medusa with the train backwards. It would have been a logistical nightmare in terms of how they would have done it if they actually would have reversed the floors and reversed the trains, or because what they did was they literally just took the seat and turned it around on the current trains. But according to the reason why they didn't do it was because the employees who wrote it said it was too intense. But then we built NamTab 7 years later. So
Which is an even more intense ride.
no, that
NamTab
NamTab was crazy.
Yeah. Like,
NamTab was the first coaster that I almost puked on.
Yeah, that was probably the
that
most
was
intense
not
thing that I ever did.
good. Not a good idea.
I loved it.
Next up, Dorney has a bad dead end near Demon Drop. I mean, yeah, but like
It's not
I don't
really a
mind
dead end.
walking down. Well, because you have corn stalkers or roadside stop and shop there during haunt. I don't know.
But,
I don't
like,
care. I don't mind
it's
it.
not really a dead end because you turn right and then within 50 feet is Demon Drop's entrance.
But it is technically a dead end down there.
It's more like a plaza for the ride.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think there's a worse dead end on the other side of the park.
Yes, that leads to a much worse ride.
Yes,
What?
that leads to
No,
one
what?
of
That's
the
not.
worst coasters in the park. You
No,
can't tell
no,
me
no.
Demon Drop is worse than Iron Menace.
Oh, Demon Drop is
No.
Iron
Iron
Man-
Menace. Iron Menace is the best coaster at that park.
Bro, Demon Drop is the
Okay.
second best ride in that entire park.
Yeah, after Iron
Next
Menace.
question. Next question.
Yeah,
Next question. We're gonna be on this for the rest of the night. Horse
Let's
is better.
see. Also, I see someone asking about the sideways horse from Bizarro. It is now the horse at Best of the West.
Yep.
Or Hype.
Oh, I didn't know they moved it there.
Yes.
I remember back in 24 when I did I forget what the Thuzy event was. What's the Thrill-a-thon?
Yeah,
Probably.
When I did the tour groups for that, the horse was actually right next to Medusa's queue, like in like the restricted area, and we actually brought people back there to take pictures of it.
Yes, I was in your tour group. That was hilarious.
Yes, that you were. I would say you were in the group when we did that. That was. I think
so
you
fun.
were the one who asked if we could do that.
Yeah, probably.
That was
I thought they
really
moved it in front of Tommy's.
Maybe it's just a clone.
funny. Tommy stole it.
Ordered my Project Purple shirt. Can't wait to wear it. Happy to hear that. If you guys would like one, it's pinned in the chat. Shameless plug. Sorry. Jason, your max center stage camera is annoying me.
Oh, here. Zach, here. Ready?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Oh my god.
Stop.
Whoa!
I don't know how to turn it off.
What's the deal on the meta glasses rule for on-ride recording? Is it just meta glasses or any glasses with the... Okay, I'm going to clear this up right now. It doesn't really matter if it's meta glasses or other camera glasses. The policy just says no filming on ride with the exception of meta glasses secured by a glasses strap. So legally, and I'll tell you why they did this. Legally, they cannot tell you can't wear your glasses on a ride. That gets into lawsuit territory with disabilities, and you can kind of figure out the rest, because you can't tell someone who can't see that they can't wear their glasses on a ride, which could potentially visually impair them. So they did this because, yeah, they wanted to not let people film, but they figured, well, why are we going to try to police this when we're just going to get into trouble? Let them do it. It's safe. There's nothing wrong with it, which that's the way I look at it. Does it maybe lower the chances of us being able to get the proper nice POVs for you guys? Probably. And that's the unfortunate side effect of this. So, I know Jason and I, we both do a lot of POVs ourselves, and I can speak, probably Jason too, that it has been more difficult to get approval to do GoPro POVs ever since this became a thing, which sucks, because the equipment that Insta360 and GoPro and DJI put out are phenomenal for capturing coasters truly in their on-ride form. And metas are not, but
No, they aren't.
they're better than
aspects.
nothing. Yeah, I'll be very transparent. I don't love the metas. I think their quality is
either.
horrible, and that the fact that Meta Facebook thought this was a good product to release to the public is baffling to me, because they're really not there yet. But I digress. I could go on all night about this.
You know what?
The best thing they do is as pretty much just walk around and have headphones on the whole time.
Yes, they're good for that. They're very good.
That's their best thing. Like their
Besides the
phone
battery.
call quality is practically the same as an iPhone. It's kind of insane.
You know, guys, that's it. I'm bringing back pivot heads.
No,
I still have mine.
eye views. Wait,
Oh God, eye views.
Well, Jason finds that, I'm gonna go to the super chat. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat. Hey, Colin, will Phil be back on a live stream? Was he ever on live streams? I don't know if he'd ever be back. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure one day.
have a whole
Next super
area
chat.
with camera
Thank you,
equipment.
Leo Zone, for the super chat. Been out of the loop. Can you quickly explain how Six Flags Legacy passes work now? Okay, so if you have a Legacy membership, hold on, like this one right here, the Diamond Elite VIP, which is what I have, these work as long as you continue to pay for them. But there are some stipulations. They have changed. Oh, geez, Jason, those are not a good look.
Look at the dead name.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Oh no.
As long as you keep paying for them, you now get access to all Six Flags parks, which includes the Legacy Cedar Fair parks, and your benefits work. But if you have the meal plan, there's no longer snacks, and the gap between meals is now 4 hours instead of 90 minutes. But otherwise, I think that pretty much covers it. you can keep it. They will probably keep raising the price as they keep doing to try and get us away from them, because
Didn't the price just go up?
the price did just go up. It was
I
$4
didn't
for
get an
Diamond
email,
Elite
but-
VIP, $3 for Diamond, and I'm assuming $2 for Gold. But yeah, that's how they currently work.
I'm gonna wear these the rest of the live stream for you guys.
Bro, there's no way.
Yeah,
Oh,
these are
God.
not the awful ones though. You can't really tell. Like it's in the middle, but it's a lot less bad than them. But these are so like none of you, please, all of you, do not buy these things. Like the iViews and pivot heads, do not go on eBay and look for these. These things suck.
Do
The
they not
audio is
exist
even
anymore?
worse. iViews still exist. They technically still sell these, the Rincons. I don't know who would buy them, but here they
The
are.
closest thing you'll get to what Jason just had on is the Oakley Vanguard meta glasses.
Yeah.
Coaster Spot, Alex uses those. I don't like the way they look, so I will never wear them. Those are the only ones that film horizontally. I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter because like I never plan on using those as official like standalone POVs. I just use the meta POVs to throw in vlogs for fun or use as shorts. But there's options.
Maybe I'll buy the Oakleys because if they film horizontal, then it's
When you see what they look
content.
like, though, you may change your mind.
Oh, never mind.
They're like the ridiculous like ski style glasses. They look insane.
Oh well, that's what Oakleys look like. I always thought Oakleys looked stupid.
I mean,
The Oakleys are stupid.
This is the case they come in.
I do
and
not
this is
like
what they look
Colin's
like.
Oakleys.
They make me look like
They have
this-
like a weird like flat section.
Okay, next
on
question.
the bridge.
Next question.
Yeah, next
Question.
let's see. Okay, so it sounds like Daredeviler at Wonderland is getting a repaint. It will be gold and green, which was Flight Deck. That's cool, at least. Let's see. Skipping that. When do you think we'll be getting a trailer for Project Purple? So I know this is kind of at a point of contention inside the park for when they should announce this, because this is a very complicated marketing timeline. And I do find it kind of funny how people are giving the park so much flack for not announcing anything about the project yet. But Universal and Disney, well, maybe not Disney so much. Universal does this all the time. Back in the day, when Great Adventure was building coasters, granted, it was before social media was so prevalent, nobody knew the names of anything. No one even knew what they were going to look like. Nitro went up and no one knew what it was. Same with Dragster. Like, this was a common practice.
I think
But
it's kind of genius that they're doing it this
They
way.
built so much hype doing it like this. Like, even if we all think we know exactly what it is, it still is building a lot of hype. People are constantly looking over the fence. They're very excited for it. If I had to guess, though, we're probably going to see a trailer or a teaser for it in maybe
Early
June.
summer.
That's probably early summer, probably after Shoreline Pier opens, so they can ride that wave a little bit. And maybe to bounce off the publicity of Shoreline Pier opening, they can drop the announcement for Project Purple. I think that would make a lot of sense.
It's going
What
to
do
be
you
the
think
purple
they will do
nurple.
with the Harley Quinn Spinsanity sign? Yeah, so they got a lot of theming from Harley Quinn at America and now here at Great Adventure. I'm guessing they're going to use it to enhance the theming of our Harley Quinn Crazy Train. Although I don't know, I don't think they're going to change the name of it to Spinsanity because that makes no sense. I mean, my personal hope is that they get a new flat ride. This is speculation. A new flat ride in Movie Town. Call it Harley Quinn Spinsanity. Retheme Harley Quinn Crazy Train back to Blackbeard's and get rid of Joker. I think that'd be great. But I can dream. I said this earlier. What do you think Fiesta Texas is building? My guess is a Vekoma family launch coaster like Big Bear. Oh yeah, this was so Ken actually sent me this morning. Thoughts on Six Flags Over Texas and RMC being on CBS and stuff that was said/shown. So I'm going to be brutally honest. That news segment made absolutely no sense. So just if you guys haven't seen it yet, I will spell it out for you. They started at Six Flags Over Texas, highlighting Tormenta. They first showed footage of Texas Giant, which I guess was the kind of
Back
segue.
in the 90s, they went
Back in the 90s, they showed how that
on a
first opened
VCR tape.
and how it was like, oh, this was the biggest, baddest wooden coaster. Now they're building this. Like, okay, that makes sense. They had a nice little interview with Jeffrey Siebert, and it, very much seemed like a Tormenta ad. And then they switched to New Texas Giant out of nowhere. Highlight that. They have Tim Baldwin from Amusement Today go on, do an interview. And then they go to RMC's manufacturing plant. They show the RMC Wild Moose prototype. They show track for Lost Islands Raptor. And then I don't even know what happened after that, but there's no it just jumped around all over the place. Like, it started off with Tormenta and wound up with the Wild Moose. I will say what they showed was very cool, but that was one of the most nonsensical, all over the place news broadcasts I've ever seen.
It's like they said, let's do a coaster segment and didn't know what they wanted to do.
It's like they asked ChatGPT, how should we do a news segment on Six Flags Over Texas roller coaster? And then they came up with that. It was insane. Let's see. Okay. This is interesting. What do you think of this prediction? In 2027, after Great Adventure opens Shoreline Pier, I can see Carowinds, Dorney, bless you, and Cedar Point in 2028 get at least one flat ride from Six Flags America. I don't think it'll be that well. I guess 2027 would make sense. I don't know. I don't think Cedar Point would be getting anything, but maybe we'll see. By then, Six Flags America will be long out of Six Flags' hands. That's for sure. I see people talking about Coaster Celebration in the chat, Ken. Were you a part of that?
Coaster Celebration.
That was an event they did at Great Adventure back in the day. I think late 90s, early 2000s with ERT and everything.
I think that was my years I was not going to the park. Where I was working all the time.
Ken was out of the game.
Sitting in a data center.
Zumanjaro hardly operated in 2024. Probably staffing. That's usually what it was with Zumanjaro. Granted, it had maintenance issues too, but typically Zumanjaro would be one of the first rides to be cut for staffing just because it pretty much never got any visitation. It was always dead back there. So that was the ride that always made the most sense.
A half-mile walk back there. I mean,
exactly.
It was commitment to go back there.
And people were also confused of what it was because the sign was framed with El Toro right in the background. And people not using their heads would probably think that was for El Toro and be like, why are we over here? So it makes sense.
I can confirm that has happened numerous times.
Yeah.
I remember I worked Flash Pass for that ride one season before I was trained on it. And the amount of questions that I got was, hey, this isn't the wedding coaster? What do you mean? I'm like, what do you want me to do? You walked past it like a half a mile ago. Like,
Very
also,
true.
there was, excuse me if I'm looking anywhere but my computer, there was a really large spider on my wall, and I tried to get it with a cup. And as I did that, a bunch of water came out of that cup. So,
oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, actually, there's a question for you, Dobie.
What's that?
It says, is the dude in the lower right a drummer? Go Blue Devils.
Yes, I am a drummer, and never say that statement to me again. However, for context, since you probably know ball knowledge, my dad was in the cadets, so I'm very much an East Coast fan. And I am a big Blue Devils hater. Next question.
Phantom Spire was a leak trade. Well, no trademarks are leaks. You can publicly access them. But
This is true.
Yes, that is true. It was not confirmed for anything in particular. What do you see happening in 2028 and 2029? I will age 2 years. No, I'm kidding. I'm assuming you're talking about Great Adventure. I mean, it could be anything. I think it's a little early. I'll probably do a speculation video on 28, so I'll leave that for that. But I'm sure they're just going to keep building as long as money doesn't run dry from corporate.
Keep going to the park, people. Keep going to the park.
And judging off spring break crowds, it seems like people are very much so doing that, which is good.
Great Adventure's back.
Yes, Great Adventure is back. It's coming back. I bet Ken knew Chill Force Ed, Patriot Man, and Cyclone Steve. Well, I know Cyclone Steve. I don't know the other two names.
Remember Coast and Steve?
Yes. Are you disappointed about Great Adventure not having a strata coaster anymore? I mean, of course, you know, Ka was an icon for so long. It really defined the park, and not having it sucks. And, you know, we're getting Project Purple. It's going to be a great ride. It will definitely have a presence, a very similar presence to that of Ka. But, you know, I can't sit here and act like I'm not maybe a little ticked that Top Thrill 2 will remain the tallest coaster in the US more than likely. And it very much so feels like that was done on purpose. Just saying. Anyways. Colin, when do you see Nitro getting a repaint? Never. No.
The whole out of count.
there's so much going on at the park from an investment standpoint that trying to squeeze in room for a nitro repaint is going to be tricky, especially because so much of the investment is on the other side of the park right now. And I think if you repaint nitro, you want to try to market it along with something. Hi, Willow. But at the same time, it was supposed to be repainted like 5 years ago, and it didn't happen. And they started with the trains and the station a little bit, with the stairs and everything, but hopefully sooner than later at this point. What do you think will be in Kinda Ka's spot? There was no Kinda Ka, it was King Ka. But I mean, that area, I really hope they save until they know exactly what they want to do and they do it right. The Golden Kingdom plot to me was always kind of poorly designed, especially after Ballins closed and you had that stupid long walk all the way to Zumajaro with the space just not being properly utilized. So I really hope that they come up with something intelligent for that plot. I mean, right now, some of King Ka's plot is being occupied by parking, so there's that for base camp. But otherwise, I'm really not too sure. Let's see. I think we're getting towards the end of the chat. Slowly. We're almost there. What % chance do you think there is for Project Purple to over-deliver and open late 2026? So it won't be New Jersey that holds that up. It'll be corporate that holds that up. I mean, just going off of what I know about roller coaster construction timelines, this ride is absolutely on pace to be done this year. I believe it will probably be cycling this year, maybe even with riders this year. Does that mean that the public will have a chance to ride it this year? Not necessarily. And I will be fully transparent. I have been championing behind the scenes for them to try and open it for, pass holders only at the end of the year. I think it's a no-brainer for season pass sales if you market the ride as, if you buy your 2027 season pass now, you get to ride Project Purple early during Fright Fest and maybe Holiday in the Park if it returns, which, hopefully. And then next year, once it gets all its kinks worked out during the late 2026 hypothetical preview period, it opens next year with minimal issues, operators who know what they're doing for the ride. And I think that would just be a really smart way to go about it. Granted, then you kind of take away the opening hype of it from 2027. But I think the biggest problem Great Adventure has had over the past few years is overpromising and under-delivering. We've seen it time and time again, and sometimes not even promising anything and just, dropping the ball, quite frankly. We saw that at the end of 2024. And the park really needs a moment where they can under-promise and over-deliver, and I think they have the perfect opportunity with Project Purple this year. We'll see, though. Again, that's fully speculation. That's just what I'm hoping.
I think they could do the media shoots this year, but I don't think it's going to open.
Right.
Except if they do a Children's Miracle Network event again. And
yeah, there you go. Or there is a charity called Project Purple.
I could do that, yeah.
Let's see. What do you see replacing Joker, if anything does? Well, if you watch my video, I was calling for a Grand Pavilion style restaurant to go right there against the water. I think that'd be beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Is El Toro getting completely retracked by Intamin? By the 2027 season, it will have opened with a lot of new Intamin track. I don't know if it's fully retracked next year, but there's a lot more going in. Who else misses Harry Applegate in Great Adventure history? I think I speak for everyone when I say it's a huge loss not having Harry. And honestly, I think it's a real shame that Great Adventure history has essentially not been touched ever since Harry passed away. I know it's still operated. I don't know by who, because the Instagram is still relatively active, but seeing that website just kind of sit dormant with no updates at all after for years of it being just the primary source of like anything Great Adventure history related. I mean, it kind of inspired me to do what I'm doing, if I'm being completely honest. Harry's trip reports and the hyper specific details on every step of the process definitely inspired me in what I do. And I hope one day, some way, somehow we can see it come back. But Harry, he really did leave a lasting legacy with what he did with Great Adventure history. Let's see. Do you prefer Project Purple or King Ka as of now? I can't. The ride hasn't even.
We don't know
what it is yet. Like we don't know what exactly it's going to look like. I can't judge it until then.
Phantom Car.
Phantom Car. And I will again reiterate, it is Project Purple, not Phantom Spire. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Do you guys think Demon Drop is a coaster or a flat ride? I personally, I did not count it as a coaster for a very long time, but Darius made a very good argument in favor of it being considered a roller coaster, and I could not argue against it. So therefore, I do count it as a roller coaster. Functionally, yes, it is more of a drop tower, but like it operates just like a roller coaster. It is more of a roller coaster than many other roller coasters that are considered roller coasters on RCDB. So that's the way I look at it.
This is true. However, I think it's a flat ride, but only because it feels like one. If you count it as one, great. If you don't, great. That's one of those rides where if you don't count it as a coaster, if you do, doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah. You can
I also
argue
think it's
either way.
Yeah.
I see it as if Superman Escape from Krypton at Magic Mountain was a coaster, and this is literally that, just instead of, staying upright the whole time, you're just on your back for one piece of it. Otherwise, it's the exact same ride. They're both credits to me. And that's kind of how Darius put it, and it's very convincing. It has blocks. It
has blocks, it has multiple cars.
It operates just like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's actually amazing how that free fall works. It's
incredible.
It's like
I really want to know what was going through Intamin's mind when they were designing that instead of just designing a regular drop tower.
Right. Well, I guess they were trying to figure out how to do the braking, and they're like, well, I guess we could just make it like a roller coaster. That'll be easy.
And there's not many of those left.
No, that's the only one.
I hope they keep Demon Drop for as long as they possibly can. That ride is incredible.
Yeah.
Jason made a face as if he knows something.
Oh, that ride's not leaving anytime soon.
Good.
Okay. Dorney's maintenance is solid.
Do you think Hershey will add a major new coaster in the next 2 years? If yes, what? They are gonna need to, because Great Adventure stepping up their game is going to prompt Hershey to also need to step up their game. I mean, I want to be fully transparent. I love Hershey. We're very closely with them. I do think their biggest weak point is absolutely their operations. Their operations are significantly worse
abysmal
than any other park, and I don't really know why, but I think that should be worked on first, and then Chocolate Town expansion. It's been waiting to happen since Chocolate Town opened. Please put whether it's a family launch coaster like Big Bear over there or something, just expand that area out.
Can the park do some kind of competition with employees to motivate them to be faster and to work more efficiently? Competition.
Right.
I know people who have worked at Hershey in the past, and apparently they purposely go slow. For what reason? I do not know.
I've heard the opposite. I've heard it really just comes down to Great Adventure, right? There's a very, and because you work there, there's a very specific way they train you, and you're taught to be efficient. Efficiency is very important in addition to safety.
Yeah, I feel yes, used to be. However, since IROC was introduced, it's definitely more focused on being safe rather than efficient. But they do say oh, well, you need to be efficient though. But yeah, in the past, yes, 100%. We used to have if you're not running down the train, you're not working.
And then Hershey, and again, I don't know how things work behind the scenes, and I don't want to imply anything. I have a very good relationship with the park, but it's definitely a clear difference in the speed there versus a park like Great Adventure, even with IROC. I mean, I know Hershey has their own set of operational procedures that are very different than other parks, but I do think that is something that definitely is going to need work before they add a new coaster. But I do think they're on track to get a new coaster in the next couple of years, and I do think a family launch coaster would be a good one.
Yeah, I would agree, but I hope they don't get a new coaster because they need to stop drawing people to that park.
I agree. That park, their crowd control is.
Well, the layout of the park it's tricky to make it work because it's almost Dollywood-like, whereas a lot of more narrow paths with these wonky kind of,
Well, what would increase the quality control or the crowd control quality? faster
Better
operations.
True.
But
Very
you can also argue that adding more rides will add more capacity to the park because there'll be people waiting in lines rather than the actual pathways. However, I also think they should they can instead do more shows and stuff like that.
I agree. They don't do enough of that.
Yeah, the only one they do is the Sea Lion show, which is an awesome show, and that stadium can fit a lot of people, and they do them all throughout the day. However, in reality, they should be using their theater.
Yep.
I think they only have one.
Yes.
And they should maybe build another one to draw more people into that and do more entertainment. So there's people off the pathways and maybe not on the coasters or the rides in general.
Also, just for the record, at 10:02, the line is going in the chat. Granted, we might get to the end before that happens, but that is when the line is going in the chat. So you guys have a couple minutes to send your final questions because we are almost at the end. What are the chances of another big coaster opening at Great Adventure in 2028? Let's let them build the first two first, and then we'll get there. But I do think there's a decent shot for sure. I think they know what is needed at the park. They know what they need to do, and you're not going to get everyone. You're not going to get that attendance level you're seeking just with Project Purple and Shoreline Pier. This is very much so a phase one, and they've reiterated this many times that this is the first step in a multi-year, full-blown revitalization of the park. And that's not going to be something that they don't keep going with. And you're going to need to visit the park in order for them to recognize that there's even success from the investment in the first place. So as long as they continue to see a rise in the numbers of attendance and revenue, they will continue to invest. And I believe that will be the case. Let's see. I see people arguing about Top Thrill 2. That's nice. Let's see. I wonder what lights will be on Project Purple for that fire night ride. See, my hope is that they put like a beacon at the base of the tower and have it shoot up. And my dad suggested this too, and have like fog around that to really like give it this kind of like crazy, like unbelievable look. Ka had that towards the end with the lights pointing up that made the tower look absolutely unreal, and Dragster has that as well. But I do hope they do that with this and like have it shoot up into the sky or something. That'd be so cool.
I also hope that if the lighthouse theme is the true, or the rumored lighthouse theme is true, that we get a beacon on top. That'd be really sick.
It'd be really interesting to see a gray and purple lighthouse, but I do think that would have been the best theme for them to go with.
It's a haunted lighthouse. The Obsidian lighthouse. It's haunted.
That's true.
There might be a phantom lurking.
Do you think that Dorney could be at risk of being sold by Six Flags anytime soon?
Yeah.
I wouldn't count it out. I would not count it out, because let's look at it like this. They just sold off every other park that is arguably in a similar tier to Dorney in terms of like not performance, but in terms of the park.
That's all they care about, though. Money.
Right. And
it's the only thing that matters.
You know how much money they could make by selling a park like Dorney that is incredibly profitable, has a good foundation, and is just a reliable year-over-year park. I firmly believe that they will get to a point where they will have to sell parks that you would never think they would sell because they're so successful, because they are going to need that cash in order to A, pay down their debts, and B, invest in the parks that they're trying to build up. The only way that happens is by selling more parks and taking in more money, because otherwise, how are they going to get to that point? And I think there's a lot of parks that could go. I mean, Dorney, for instance.
I think I hear a video coming.
Maybe. Dorney is in such a close proximity to Great Adventure, which from a marketing standpoint is great because you can market the two parks together. But from an operations standpoint, you're pulling from the same group of people at the end of the day. You're pulling from the New York and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. And at the end of the day, like if I'm only able to pick between Great Adventure and Dorney, and maybe I don't have the means to get to both, I'm going to Great Adventure any day of the week. I'm not going to go to Dorney. And I guarantee you there's a lot of people who are not going to be making the trip to both. They're only going to pick one. So I would not count out the idea of Six Flags moving away from these parks being within such a close proximity to each other and focusing on having the dominant park of each individual region. I would not count that out.
I think we go through this conversation every live stream.
I feel like we
Yeah,
do.
we definitely do.
But yeah, don't count it out. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying don't count any park out from being sold. I think the only park that will not be sold genuinely is Great Adventure because they're putting so much money into it that they don't want to get rid of it now.
How about the 2 Texas parks?
I don't think they're going to keep both. I'd be surprised if they kept both. But anyways, do you think Great Adventure will switch to Fastlane wristbands? I personally hate the reservations.
I hope so.
I strongly agree with you, but I don't know if they're going to because they migrated 2 of the Cedar Fair parks over to the Accesso system as well. And what I find funny about this is that they installed the Fastlane kiosks at El Toro, at Jersey Devil. There's presumably more going in, but they're kind of useless right now because like at the Cedar Fair parks with the Fastlane wristband, they serve the purpose of, whoa, if you want to buy a one-shot, you just go here and you print it out and bam. But with the Accesso system, you just buy it on your phone. So installing these presumably very expensive kiosks kind of serve no purpose now that this is the way they're doing Fastlane. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping they switch to the Fastlane wristbands next year because I can tell you personally from my experience, Fastlane to me appears to be pretty oversold this year. I've seen some pretty wild Fastlane lines certain days, like much longer than they used to be. And I think that's due in part to the really cheap all-season Fastlane price, plus maybe other people just buying Fastlane who wouldn't have in the past. But yeah, I hope they switch. All right, we're almost at the end. We only have a couple questions left. And we have a super chat. Let me get that super chat. Thank you, Nick's Vlogs, for the super chat. What coasters will I have issues fitting on at Six Flags New England? Well, it depends on your size, obviously. If I'm talking strictly off coasters, I know that tend to be a little more restricting. Quantum is probably an issue because I know that the straddle coasters are definitely not the most accommodating. RMCs can be tricky as well, depending on your size and like your leg area, because the shin guards can get pretty tight. I'm trying
Superman
to
doesn't like tall people.
Superman. I would say Superman's the biggest.
Yeah, Superman.
Yeah, honestly, all the coasters.
Pandemonium you'll have a hard time with. Thunderbolt still uses a buzz bar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thunderbolt will be no issue. It really depends.
No, Thunderbolt doesn't have buzz bars.
Oh, no, that's right. It is
Doesn't?
PTCs. It's the
Ratcheting.
the ratcheting lap
Oh,
bars.
those are fine too, though.
Yeah, those are pretty accommodating. I don't know. It's kind of tough to say, quite honestly. I mean, I'm a twig, so I can't really judge fairly. But just based off what I've seen and people I know who maybe have a hard time fitting on certain attractions, that's kind of what I've observed personally. Is Six Flags selling Project Purple merch? I see Ryan Eldridge wearing a Great Adventure Project Purple jacket, and it looked dope. Those are just for employees. That's just like the 50th anniversary polos they had with like the multicolor and the logo. Those are specifically just for employees. Do you think if Phantom Theater at Kings Island does good, there's a chance Cedar Point can get one? I would think it'd go straight to King's Dominion or Carowinds before it goes to Cedar Point. They would probably switch over all of the Boo Blasters attractions to Phantom Theater, which I'm excited. I'm excited to see how that ride goes. All right, a couple questions left here. Let's see. I think we're gonna end it with we'll do 2 more. Which option is most likely to you at King Dakot's plot? B&M Giga, RMC Ground Up, or T-Rex, Intamin Multi-Launch, Vekoma Tilt, Vekoma Family Launch? Out of what you said, and if I'm being realistic, Vekoma Family Launch. But I want an Intamin Multi-Launch. Any differing opinions on that one?
I would say realistic, probably either a tilt or a family launch, and maybe a multi-launch from a different manufacturer, but maybe not Intamin. RMC Ground Up, I doubt it. I honestly don't think that the park wants another RMC after Jersey Devil. If coming from a former employee of that ride after its first season, that ride was a dumpster fire in terms of maintenance. And that's also just the what is it, the Raptors in general. The roundups have a little bit more, and the hybrids have a little bit better track record. B&M Giga, I mean, it's if they probably are thinking about it, but it's whether they want to spend money on it or not.
And putting that right next to Project Purple would be a little strange too.
I mean, I made one. I thought it looked pretty good, but
I guess if you have the lift hill go the other way, maybe like
like going towards the Safari.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
That could work. Well, if there's no other thoughts, I will go to the final question of the night. Do you think any more intimate accelerators, meaning hydraulic launch coasters, will close by 2030? Yes. If I had to think off the top of my head, which ones will probably be gone? Rita at Alton Towers, Stealth at Thorpe Park. Maybe Accelerator at Knott's. Storm Runner is not going to go anywhere. Matugani, unless Lost Island closes, is not going to go anywhere. And I can't really speak for all of the European ones and abroad. But I do think Rita and Stealth are more than likely not going to last much longer.
I don't think Stealth is going to close because it did just get a really big refurbishment recently.
Okay, that I did not know about.
Yeah, or at least something happened to it that changed. But I'm pretty sure because I remember the whole like, oh, is Max Forrester Stealth whatever. Apparently Stealth got a launch system upgrade, which is why they now advertise it at whatever seconds it is to get up to the speed, which Max Force is still the fastest accelerating coaster. I don't care.
Yes, I agree.
But Rita, I could possibly see. I could see. Here's the thing, though. If they just want to keep Rita, they probably just slap LSMs on it. But I could imagine they'd probably just get a different launch coaster at that point.
Right.
And then same thing for Desert Storm at Heidi Park, or Heidi
Desert
Park.
Race.
Desert Race, yeah, whatever it's called. It's the same. It's literally the same thing as Rita. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of the other ones don't exist anymore too. Accelerator is probably the first one that's going to go, but that also just got a ton of love due to our fallen brother of King Ka. So
very true. Well, with that, that is the final question of the night for the live stream. I want to thank you all so much for participating. Very high viewership throughout as well. I've been watching. Seems like we've been staying pretty much over 100 the entire time and around 130 on average. So huge thank you to all of you for staying with it. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, not just to Hollywood Studios, but also to Accelerated Creative and Radzad Productions. But again, thank you all. There's going to be lots of great adventure coverage coming throughout the week. Quantum Accelerator later this week as well. So very exciting stuff. But to close out the video or the live stream, if you guys want to all give a farewell, plug your channels, go for it, Jason.
I'm Accelerated Creative on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
I am going to plug an event, as I always find creative things to do. Coming in 2 weekends, I don't know if everyone knows about it, but Transworld does a haunt event out in St. Louis every year. Well, they have an event on the East Coast, East Coast Haunters Convention. It's going to be right outside of Philly. And it's going to have all the haunts from the area are going to be there presenting. There's going to be manufacturers of all the props and all the displays.
And it's right next door to BJ's.
And
Good place.
along the same time, they're also having a Christmas convention, which has all the lighting and Christmas stuff. So if you're looking for something interesting to do, if you want to go, they have daily tickets. They have a whole weekend ticket. There's a Sunday only ticket that's really cheap. So it looks like a fun thing to do. I'll be going. Just, I'll be there.
Ken will have his own table for meet and greet with Uncle Ken if you'd like to meet him.
You get to go through a haunt with Ken.
There you go.
I think they're going to have a few haunts there too set up. So
very exciting. And Zach?
So,
I was going to say, don't forget to check out my channel. I'm mainly active on YouTube. I do have an Instagram, but I rarely post there anymore due to Instagram basically hiding all regular photos. I'm sure Jason can talk on that quite a bit. So check out my channel. If Colin tells you to do it, you have to do it. Also, don't forget I saw some of you guys talking about my drumming type stuff and other drumming music things. I have a music account on Instagram. It's just Zach D Drums. It's backwards, but there it is right there. So yeah, if you guys want to check out my drumming stuff, you can go check out that there too, because I am a musician first, a Thuzy second. So yeah.
And the King to Ka video.
Yo, yes. Yeah. Don't forget to check out my Baya cover. I did a full ensemble cover, every single instrument, except for the bass. Thank you, Jersey Devil Aaron, for the bass.
Yes, shout out Aaron.
Yeah.
But with all that, guys, that is it for the stream. If you guys enjoyed, again, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.